Chapter 1065. When Lu abruptly looked up, her eyes suddenly lit up. Her heart, which had been covered by darkness, suddenly seemed to be injected with a ray of sunlight. An uncontrollable smile of joy gradually spread from the corner of his mouth. Mia immediately stopped and looked at Yu Yuan, not knowing what to do. A few seconds later, an expression of heartfelt joy for Wen Lu appeared on her face. The eyes of the Green Phoenix Empress under the bead curtain also seemed to suddenly shine. Her slightly exposed and beautiful chin that was like the work of a god seemed to show an extremely reserved smile. Wen Lu said in a trembling voice, "Be Big Brother Yu, is this true? Your talent in medicine refinement isn't inferior to my former disciples. With your unique bloodline, your future achievements won't be low." Yu Yuan gave her a deep look and said with an encouraging tone, "I know that you don't like fighting and killing, and you're not good at fighting. Therefore, the path of a medicine refinement master is very suitable for you. You can make great contributions through medicine refinement." When Lu was overjoyed because of her words, Kennard, who was known as the Son of the Forest, and the old dark spirit with the rank 9 bloodline looked gloomy. Kennard remained silent. The old dark spirit called Kelt suddenly looked at Mia and said, "Have you forgotten what you're supposed to do?" "What?" Mia stilled. "Please take off our race's holy artifact." Kelt's expression was stern. "She's not a pure dark spirit. The holy artifact that the High Priest is guarding should be returned to the clan and chosen a new successor." Mia pondered for a few seconds and then looked at Yu Yuan, as if she had gained courage. "The holy artifact has been on Wen Lu's neck since she was a child. This means that the High Priest has decided to pass the holy artifact to her. Also, the High Priest of our race has the right to pass the holy artifact to the clansman he recognizes." Pausing, Mia said, "Also, Wen Lu has refined the holy artifact." "How dare you?" Kennard's face was filled with anger. Yu Yuan chuckled, looking at the so-called child of the forest. "The Tongtian Trading Company has rules. It does not allow private fights in the Annihilation Star Field, let alone the Thousand Birds world." "I know. Otherwise, do you think you would still be standing here?" Kennard said coldly. "I think you misunderstood." Yu Yuan was speechless. "What I'm trying to say is, if it weren't for the rules of the Tongtian Trading Company, I would have taught you a lesson, you son of the forest, a Boolsh *T. Kennard, Kelt, and even Mia turned pale with fright when they heard this. Kennard was the youngest son of the current leader of the Dark Spirit clan. Where did Yu Yuan get his guts from? If your father was here, I might have to consider it and give him some face. But if it's you... Yu Yuan shook his head lightly and said bluntly, "You don't have that much face. You're not qualified." "Zhou Yu," he called out softly. "Yes." The fat old man holding the horsetail whisk responded weakly and was forced to show himself. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to get involved in the conflict between Yu Yuan and Kennard. That was why he had been watching from afar. He would only come to stop them when a fight really broke out. Wen Lu has a pure dark spirit clan bloodline and extraordinary talent in medicine refining. With my guidance, she will definitely become a heaven-grade alchemist in the future. Her dark spirit bloodline allows her to nurture hundreds of plants and flowers that are extremely difficult to grow in a short time. After laying the groundwork, Yu Yuan said, "Mr. Zhou, is such a talent your company desperately needs." Wen Lu didn't like fighting. It wasn't safe to bring her into the Shenhun sect. The Tongtian Trading Company was more suitable. Zhou Yu grimaced. "Of course. That's good." Yu Yuan nodded and looked at Kennard again. "She is my disciple. In the future, she will be a heaven-grade alchemist and a member of the Chamber of Commerce." Kennard's face stiffened. "If you really want that necklace, go back and let your father talk to the Chamber of Commerce." Yu Yuan snorted. "Don't make decisions without asking for permission. You are you, and you are not the patriarch of the Dark Spirit clan. You can't represent your father." Mia's mind moved slightly because of these words. She thought carefully and realized that Yu Yuan had caught the key. The patriarch's actions were several levels higher than Kennard's. He wouldn't let Kennard act so recklessly. Please go back. I don't welcome the three of you here. Yu Yuan turned and returned to the house, not looking at them again. He's right. You can't take the necklace on Wen Lu's neck in Thousand Birds' realm. Zhou Yu was slightly helpless, but he still warned Kennard. Including Lady Peach and Hu Kaiyun, you can't mess around in the Annihilation Star System. If she leaves the Annihilation Star System, what you do has nothing to do with the Chamber of Commerce. At this time, Emperor Han Tian finally added, if Hu Kaiyun has been officially accepted by the Shunhun sect at that time, please consider the consequences when you make a move. He entered the hall after Yu Yuan. Wen Lu stood at the door and waited. Seeing that Mia didn't take the necklace from her neck and Kennard's dark face and silent for a long time, she bowed to Mia and returned to the house. With a whoosh, Princess Qing Luan disappeared. In a nest that was faintly filled with the aura of death. President Li, Fei Shui, and three people who were proficient in spatial arts were waiting quietly. Inside the huge nest, streams of light suddenly appeared, as if a bunch of meteors were intertwined and condensed into a bright door of light. Starlight shone inside, and the chaotic space ability gradually stabilized. After a while, Luo Yu flew out of the nest that temporarily served as the Star River crossing, with a seven-colored glass-like body. As soon as she left the nest, she smiled and bowed to President Li. Greetings, President Li. President Li saw her and felt relieved. He knew that the Star River crossing had resumed operation. Is Yu Yuan really in the Thousand Birds realm? Luo Yu wanted to call him master, but Hanch didn't really take her into the medicine god's sect in her previous life. In this life, Yu Yuan didn't want her to call him master, so she called him by his name. In one of President Li's eyes, the palace where Yu Yuan was now appeared. It's not far away. Luo Yu smiled. She didn't delay for even a moment and instantly left. After her, Ghost King Tian Song, Chuling Ghost King, and Thousand Calamity Ghost King came out of the Star River crossing one after another. All of them had refined bodies. Including Luo Yu, a total of 4 Ghost Kings appeared in the Thousand Birds realm. Because of the appearance of the 4 Ghost Kings, many heavenly demons who broke through the realm barrier and came from the outer realms felt uneasy. They all asked what had happened. Why did the 4 Ghost Kings of the Land of Terror suddenly invade the outer realms and annihilate the star field? White Crane, who was standing next to the death nest, drooped his eyes. He thought about the power of death. He had comprehended and failed to refine the nest. Chen Qinghuang had benefited for nothing. He was very unhappy. However, he knew that he didn't have the ability to restore the death nest to its original state. White Bone has become a god. Lulu, who was also a great demon, suddenly said, White Bone became a ghost god from the Land of Terror and didn't occupy the highest position. After he became a god, the Ghost Kings of the Land of Terror gained confidence and dared to step out of the outer realms to seek their own opportunities. In the outer realms, if they really encounter difficulties, as long as they can return to the Land of Terror, they will be safe. From now on, White Bone in the Land of Terror is like the desolate god in the Great Swamp. As long as they don't go out, they are invincible in there. Even if the nascent divinities and demon gods of the 5 supreme forces find them, they can't do anything to them. Lulu explained the mystery. White Bone has become the first ghost god since ancient times. Zhonglida took a deep breath and said with emotion, I didn't expect the legend to become a reality. Since White Bone is the former evil King Yu Yuan, he is Yu Yuan's ancestor in this life. Plus, White Bone was able to become a god successfully because of Yu Yuan's help. Shi Quan narrowed his eyes. His expression flickered as he said, then these 4 Ghost Kings should only be mobilized by Yu Yuan in the outer realms. Tian Tsang is the heavenly demon Yu Qian. Perhaps he might not completely listen to White Bone. However, Yu Yuan has the identity of the Shenhun sect. Yu Qian seems to have a tacit understanding with the Shenhun sect. President Li muttered to himself and then nodded lightly. That's right. Yu Yuan should have the ability to mobilize the power of the four Ghost Kings. The four Ghost Kings, after leaving the Land of Terror, were equivalent to four Carefree Realm experts. Yu Yuan could control their power. In the Thousand Birds realm, or even the Annihilation Starfield, he could be considered a tyrant. Chapter 1066. Why are you here? Where's Yu Yuan? Luo Yu followed the directions President Li had given her, and came to the pavilion the Chamber of Commerce had built for Yu Yuan. The first thing she saw was Mia and the other three dark spirit race clansmen. She had met the Fiend Demon sect and the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land before, so she was familiar with them. Mia, Beirut, and the other outsiders soon left for the domain of annihilation after their predicament in the Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moons was resolved, and they entered the great desolate God Lake. They followed the star paths that the Divine Soul sect and the Heaven-Span Trading Association had created, and passed through numerous ferries. Luo Yu wasn't in a hurry, so she was much slower. He's inside. Elder Mia smiled dryly. Oh, thank you. Luo Yu nodded slightly and disappeared in a flash. After her, the Chuling Ghost King and the Thousand Tribulations Ghost King also rushed over. As if they had sensed Luo Yu's presence, the two Ghost Kings didn't even greet Mia before rushing into the pill refinement room. Celt of the Dark Spirit race exclaimed in shock when he saw Tian Song in the form of a blue devil. Lord Yu Qian? Heavenly Devil Yu Qian was the most famous member of the Blue Devil race. He had once been as famous as Grek of the Blood Devil race. You know me. Tian Song went blank for a moment. Looking at the unfamiliar Celt, he nodded slightly at Mia and asked, Are you here to see Yu Yuan? I guess so, Mia said awkwardly. We'll talk later. Tian Song didn't even wait for Celt to introduce himself. He greeted Mia and entered the pill refining room. Who is he? Kennard frowned. Celt was filled with deep veneration. Heavenly Devil Yu Qian was a young expert of the same generation as your father. If he wasn't trapped in vast heaven and earth, he would have become a great heavenly devil god like Grayson. To this day, many of the older demon gods of the sky demon race feel regret for him. I heard my father mention it before. Kennard's expression changed slightly. He's in Howran under the alias of Ghoul King Tianzong. The three you saw just now are all Ghoul Kings. Mia hesitated for a moment, then braced herself and explained, The Land of Terror is about to give birth to a ghost god that has never been seen before. And that ghost god called White Bones seems to have become a god because of Yu Yuan. Also, the White Bone Demon God is an ancestor of the Yu family. He used to be called Evil King Yuzhen. The four great ghost kings should have just arrived at the Thousand Bird realm. The first thing they did was pay their respects to Yu Yuan. Mia, who had come out of Howran alive, knew many things about the human race. She was afraid that Kennard wouldn't understand, so she explained it clearly. In the end, he said, the White Bones ghost god in the Land of Terror alone, and those ghost kings whose battle prowess is comparable to that of our 9th-level experts, aren't much weaker than the dark spirits. Furthermore, in the Land of Terror, there are numerous specters, and countless specters running amok. To tell you the truth, the Land of Terror has a powerful army now. With a cautious expression, Mia gazed at the open door of the pill refining room and said in a low voice, Also, Yu Yuan is backed by the Tongtian Trading Company and the Shenhun sect. The son of the forest was flabbergasted, and his heart grew heavy as he listened. After a while, he left without saying a word. On the first floor of the spacious hall, Luo Yu, the Thousand Tribulations Ghost King, and the Chuling Ghost King, who had come from afar, were all chatting with Yu Yuan. Luo Yu, especially, was talking about the recent situation in Howran. Yu Yuan was well aware of the turmoil in his homeland, so he was eager to hear more about the Land of Terror. Tiantsang, who had assumed the appearance of a handsome man with a blue face, exchanged a smile with Emperor Han Tian after meeting him. The two of them exchanged some interesting information about the so-called crooks in the forbidden region of the Fallen Moons. After a short while, Yu Yuan learned that White Bones had officially become a never-before-seen ghost god in the Land of Fear. At this moment, the White Bones was already stabilizing its cultivation base, and no longer restrained them. Instead, it had instructed them to come to the Thousand-Bird Realm in the domain of annihilation to trade the wondrous items in the Land of Terror for soul crystals and special items that would help them grow stronger. As a former heavenly devil, Tiantsang knew that there were many strange things in the Starry River that would be useful to beings like him. Therefore, the four Ghost Kings had come together. After greeting him with the White Bones greetings, the Thousand Tribulations Ghost King, who used to be the Queen Bee of the Goblin Temple, smiled and left. Tiantsang followed him out of the hall, as if they wanted to talk about the Shenhun sect's arrangements in private. Luoyu, I've taken her in as my disciple since you've been teaching her how to concoct pills. Yu Yuan pointed at Wenlu, who was standing beside him, and said in an old-fashioned manner, "She's quite talented, and her bloodline is wondrous. Teach her about medicine and tell her what she needs to pay special attention to." Luoyu wasn't angry at all. Instead, she nodded with a smile and said, "I happen to have some free time. Leave it to me." Wenlu knew that she used to be the sect master of voodoo, and had cultivated with Yu Yuan for a while. Upon hearing this, she was both surprised and overjoyed. She hastily bowed and saluted. "Don't mention it. You're a lucky girl. Back in the day, I didn't even have the chance to earn his acknowledgement and become his official disciple." Luo Yu's face was filled with envy as she said these words. Yu Yuan pretended that he didn't hear her. "Is the divine daughter of the blood god with you?" Wrapped in the spirit locking diagram, Ghost King Chuling, who looked like a young emperor, asked with a serious expression. Yu Yuan nodded and briefly explained the situation. He knew that Ghost King Chuling had a close relationship with Anwen. Knowing that Ziqing's condition wasn't good, he would definitely be concerned. "I'll stay and wait for her to wake up," Ghost King Chuling said. "As you wish." 2 days later, sitting in a secret room on the 3rd floor of the pavilion, Yu Yuan sensed a surge of blood energy and slowly opened his eyes. After a flash, he stood still in front of the bloody cocoon that was half enveloping Ziqing. Looking at the beautiful Ziqing, his long eyelashes moved, and the drop of purple blood between his eyebrows suddenly fell off on its own. The moment the drop of purple blood disappeared, Ziqing's sealed little world in her sea of consciousness started to function again. She opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was Yu Yuan, who was dressed in a black suit and had a delicate and handsome face. A faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. She slowly sat up straight and said, "When I heard that you were the first to enter the Annihilation star system, I thought that you would save me." Whoosh! Ghost King Chuling instantly appeared. Seeing that Ziqing had woken up, other than her pale complexion, her soul and body were fine, Ghost King Chuling let out a sigh of relief. "I heard that you didn't wait for the ferry to reopen. You insisted on going to the Annihilation star system with your own strength. Why did you have to be so reckless?" He scolded Ziqing with the tone of an elder. Ziqing also knew that this ghost lord of the Land of Terror had a good personal relationship with her father, so she was not angry. The cultivation of the Sun Spirit realm should be honed in the Outer Star River. "I'm just following the usual tradition." "Who did you run into?" Yu Yuan asked. "Chao Yi." Ziqing's eyes turned fierce. Ghost King Chuling's expression changed slightly. "So it's him. No wonder Chao Yi was able to possess Anzan Shan and cultivate the secret incantations of your blood god. You didn't know that your blood god had been active as your ancestor for so long. It's obvious how terrifying he is. Yu Yuan still had lingering fears about Chao Yi, who used to travel the starry river as Anzan Shan. The young genius of Xuantianzong hadn't been possessed by Anzan Shan. Instead, he had taken everything that belonged to Anzan Shan and hidden in the blood god as Anzan Shan. If Chao Yi hadn't been exposed during the chaos in the forbidden land of the fallen moons, he would have suffered a great loss in the blood god. Chao Yi is well versed in the secret incantations of our blood god. He must have done something to me before. Based on my flesh aura fluctuations, he ambushed me at the edge of the Annihilation star system. And Ziqing also sucked in a breath of cold air. After pondering for a moment, she said, Yu Yuan, other than Chao Yi, I also ran into many legendary mutant monsters. Many of them seemed to have been driven into the domain of annihilation through a hidden border. Chapter 1067. In a remote corner of the domain of annihilation, in a cold, desolate region of space, gray, withered trees that were thousands of meters tall swayed in the wind like feathers that had been magnified thousands of times over. The trees that were as large as mountains exuded an ancient, decaying, and desolate aura. Numerous mutant abyss devils could be seen crouching or hanging from the thick, long branches of the trees. These mutant abyss devils included the so-called great demons of the Howran world, fierce beasts from the outer realms, and mutants of various races. Thousands of living mutant abyss devils could be seen on the branches of each of these gray, withered trees. Their flesh and blood auras were strange. Some of them were covered in pus, some of them had rotten limbs that reeked of blood, and some of them had green eyes that seemed to be searching for something. However, these mutant abyss devils didn't fight or eat each other. They were so quiet that it was eerie. There were dozens of such strange gray, withered trees. There were so many mutant devilish creatures on each tree, and they were so bizarre that they seemed even more orderly than the regular army of the outsiders. Their hierarchy was strict, and they were full of discipline. It was as if some kind of power was restraining them and making them forget the madness and chaos of mutants. Swoosh! A crescent-shaped, silver-white bolt of lightning suddenly broke into this desolate region of space. It was an elegant starship that looked like a moon. It belonged to the Moonlight People. On the crescent-shaped ancient starship, there were nearly 100 moonlit Night Clansmen with weak bloodlines at the 6th or 7th level. The 3 moonlit Night Clansmen who were the leaders of the Moonlit Night Clan were only at the 8th level. This ancient starship of the Moonlight People was passing by the domain of annihilation. They had come uninvited because they had heard that a grand event was about to be held in the Thousand-Bird Realm. As soon as they arrived at the Annihilation Star area, a young man of the Night Moon Clan who was responsible for guarding the Annihilation Star area saw the shocking scene. He was so scared that his body stiffened. Heavens, are all the powerful mutant abyss devils in the boundless universe gathered here? As he muttered to himself, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. He hurriedly shouted, "Retreat! Retreat! The Annihilation Starfield is not as peaceful as we thought." His exclamation caused the rest of the Moonlight People to stand up one after another. Later, they also noticed the giant withered trees with hundreds of thousands of horrifying mutant monsters floating in the desolate universe. They were scared out of their wits. Suddenly, a crimson ferocious beast crouched on top of one of the gray withered trees closest to them. Its red eyes glowed as it looked at them. Like an incomparably large cattail leaf fan, the enormous tree suddenly slapped down towards the ancient starship they were on. Similarly, at the edge of the Annihilation Starfield, Lin Zhuyun, who was exuding an extremely cold mist, was floating alone on a star that had been dead for 100,000 years. Because of the arrival of the immortal bird, all living beings in this world had been wiped out. However, there were still magnificent cities and rusty stone palaces that were full of traces of time. Among the dozen or so gray pillars there were many tall bodies. At first glance, one could tell that they were the corpses of the giant spirit clan. Their flesh and blood were withered, and they exuded a strong aura of death. Lin Zhuyun frowned as she approached them. She knew that the city under her feet belonged to the ancient giant spirit clan. Because the immortal bird had been besieged by numerous peak 10th level experts, its death power had broken out uncontrollably, resulting in the cruel scene in front of her. Because of this, a giant spirit clan kingdom and a giant spirit world had disappeared in the blink of an eye. She was trying to trace the past to see if she could find something. Suddenly, she raised her head to look. In the depths of the void, an ancient starship of the Moonlight people was crashing down uncontrollably. The ancient starship was in the shape of a crescent moon. It was covered in blood, as if it had gone through a fierce battle. However, she couldn't find a single member of the Moonlight people. Boom! The starship crashed in the distant wasteland outside the city. After a moment of hesitation, Lin Zhuyun morphed into a streak of icy light and shot towards it. After arriving at the wreckage of the starship and examining it carefully, she didn't find a single member of the Moonlight people. Private fights are forbidden in the domain of annihilation, but this starship was attacked. As she pondered, wisps of sparkling, icy lightning shot out of her to examine every inch of the wreckage of the starship in her unique way. As a wisp of icy lightning made contact with a puddle of dark green blood, rich, violent flesh aura seeped into the wisp of icy lightning that was closely connected to her, and attempted to rush into her body. After that, more wisps of icy lightning also made contact with flesh auras that seemed to contain independent awareness. The first thing that came to Lin Zhuyun's mind was to resist and repel them with her own power. However, just as she was about to do so, she sensed that her frozen flesh aura world seemed to show signs of cracking due to the impact of the unknown force. After a moment of hesitation, she changed her mind. If she couldn't solve her own problem, she wouldn't be able to gain a foothold in the Starry River. She would soon die. Since there was a dead end left and right, she might as well guide the unknown force into her body and see if it was possible to obtain a chance of survival. With this thought in mind, she no longer put up her guard, but instead allowed the unknown flesh aura to invade her body. In a cultivation room in Thousand Bird Realm, Yu Yuan's true body was sitting upright, breathing deeply. He held 2 translucent spirit stones in his hands and absorbed the purest spirit energy they contained. The spirit energy in this world was mixed and not rich enough. His Golden Hall small world needed to be constantly replenished with spirit energy. Other than pills, high-purity spirit stones were the best way to replenish his spirit energy. 1/2 meter above his head, his Yin spirit floated. Inside his Yin spirit in the form of a soul, there was silver Yin sunflower essence, being refined by him, washing away the distracting thoughts and impurities of his Yin spirit. In front of his main body, in a 7-colored glass jar, there was a rare Yin sunflower essence. It was brought by Luo Yu from the Land of Terror. That jar of Yin sunflower essence was brought to him by the White Bone Ghost King of this life, who wanted Luo Yu to bring it to him. The Yin sunflower essence, that was only produced in the Land of Terror, was definitely a first-rate treasure. It had the miraculous effect of cleansing an illusory soul body. Just like how one's flesh and blood needed to be cleansed, the soul was the same. Most of the time, meditation, and clearing away distracting thoughts were the cleansing and purification of the soul. However, compared to the cleansing of the soul by the Yin sunflower essence, this method was much, much less effective. There was a far cry in terms of profoundness. Feeling the bits of Yin sunflower essence melting into his Yin spirit in the form of a soul, Yu Yuan clearly felt that his Yin spirit had become pure because of this. After devouring and refining the foreign heavenly demons and absorbing the soul energy flowing from the life altar, the tiny foreign objects left in his Yin spirit were gradually cleansed by the Yin sunflower essence. His Yin spirit became lighter and more ethereal, and it seemed to be able to resist external forces. Let's try again. With a thought, his spirit flew out of the cultivation room and soared into the sky. Not long after, his spirit broke through the boundary wall of the thousand-bird realm and arrived at the outer realm where the filthy energy surged. He immediately knew that a lot of energy that was harmful to the soul had seeped in. Because of this, the spirit in the form of a soul's thoughts were in a mess. The meridians in his soul body were blocked. His soul consciousness was stagnant, and he felt intense pain. All kinds of uncomfortable reactions suddenly erupted. However, compared to when he was in the dark paradise, he clearly felt that he could endure it more. The sunflower essence was indeed wondrous. The effect of refining, strengthening, and improving the spirit was obvious. He was secretly excited. Just as he was about to return to his body, he suddenly saw a tall soul with a green face and fangs, wearing ancient armor, floating over. The tall spirit soul and his deity exchanged glances with each other. Yu Yuan, Heavenly Demon Green Nightmare. Chapter 1068. Heavenly devils were adept at shape-shifting. They could take on any form they wanted. The Green Nightmare before him was clad in an ancient suit of armor that looked very similar to the one in the fiendish demon cauldron. The inside of the suit of armor was empty. The Green Nightmare inside was actually a soul, not a physical body. The Green Nightmare was a member of the Nightmare Devil race, a race of heavenly devils. It had the innate ability to control nightmares and infiltrate the souls of all living beings. His illusory spirit body had fangs and a terrifying, cyan face. Yu Yuan was actually quite unfamiliar with this face. Back in the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land, Green Nightmare had spent most of his time inside the steels and fighting with the power of the steels. However, Yu Yuan was able to tell from his aura alone that this was the heavenly devil Green Nightmare, who had once possessed a steel and tried to refine it into his body. Similarly, Green Nightmare recognized him the moment he saw him. Both of them were in the form of souls. Green Nightmare's suit of armor was covered in wondrous patterns that looked like stars. Countless strange talisman characters were hidden in them, which were very similar to the inscriptions on the steels back then. It's been so long, but you still recognized me at a glance. Green Nightmare opened his mouth. The fangs disappeared, and his sinister face adjusted. Soon, he transformed into an extraordinarily handsome man with a feminine temperament. This armor was forged by me after birth, so it's considered half of my body. It's just a shell of mine until I find a better replacement. Green Nightmare explained casually. I do need a body if I want to display the battle prowess of a devil god. From the sound of his words, it seemed that he wasn't satisfied with this suit of armor, but didn't have a better choice, so he could only make do with it for now. You're quite brave, aren't you? How dare you travel through the starry river as a nether spirit? Do you think you're a heavenly devil too? As Green Nightmare spoke, a number of nearby heavenly devils that had successfully refined or possessed bodies swarmed towards this place. There were also some heavenly devils that were in the form of souls, but didn't have a body. From the moment they were born, heavenly devils didn't have fleshly bodies. They were nothing more than devil souls. Compared to human souls, which were fragile, and even refined nether souls, they had a racial advantage. Heavenly demons in soul form could break free from the protection of the realm barrier and fly in the starry sky when they were at the 6th or 7th level. Lord Green Nightmare. Greetings, Lord Green Nightmare. Many strange heavenly demons greeted this heavenly demon. Has Yu Qian already appeared? Green Nightmare responded to the otherworldly demons perfunctorily and then asked Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan nodded. They came through the celestial river ferry. That's good. I have something to discuss with him. Green Nightmare's expression was serious. He didn't try to hide anything in front of Yu Yuan. Although Yu Qian became Ghost King Tian Tsang in the Land of Fear, He's still connected to the Shunhun sect. He has the same responsibility as me to maintain order in the Annihilation Star Zone. Is there a problem with that? Yu Yuan asked curiously. He had learned from Emperor Heaven Shaking that many powerful experts of the Shunhun sect hadn't entered the Thousand Birds realm directly. Instead, they were scattered in remote areas of this domain. Only when there was real trouble would people from the Shunhun sect show up to deal with it. A few ancient starships have crashed recently, Green Nightmare said. The outsiders on them are nowhere to be found. Yu Yuan's expression flickered as he remembered Anzicheng's discovery. He couldn't help but say, Anzicheng of the Blood God said that she found so-called mutant monsters in a remote area. And there were a lot of them. Mutant monsters? Green Nightmare seemed surprised. He pondered for a moment before muttering to himself, it's unlikely that mutant monsters would appear in groups. They don't have intelligence. When they gather together, they'll kill each other until the strongest of them kills all the weaker ones. Then, they'll continue to seek their own advancement with the weaker ones. And Zicheng said that she saw them. That should be true, Yu Yuan said. I need to verify it. And I'll need to see President Li. Green Nightmare nodded but didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he smiled and bowed slightly to Yu Yuan. Long time no see. Long time no see. After a brief conversation, Yu Yuan's nether deity couldn't withstand the continuous infiltration of foreign energies, and returned to his body. After it returned to his cultivation room, bits of Een sunflower essence flew out of the azure jar in front of him and flew into his nether deity to cleanse and purify it. He had been refining his nether deity in this way for a while. So many mutant monsters. His true form rubbed his chin and fell into deep thought. After a while, a commotion came from downstairs. He focused his attention and realized that it was the 9th-grade silver scale expert who had come to ask for medicinal pills. A wisp of his mind was transmitted from Yu Yuan's cultivation room to Luo Yu, who was in charge of this matter. Luo Yu agreed without hesitation. She was an excellent alchemist. The medicinal pills that the silver scale expert had asked for weren't difficult for her. After a while, experts of the Radiant clan also came to ask for medicine, bringing many medicinal herbs and strange liquids that could nourish souls. Yu Yuan had promised Canli, so he asked Luo Yu to take care of this matter while he cultivated in his cultivation room. Come with me and buy some things. On this day, Anzicheng, who had recovered some of her energy, pushed open the door of the cultivation room, barged in, and stood in front of Nietian. She was a goddess who had become more and more dazzling. She had put away her purple divine armor, and was wearing a long, light purple dress that covered the floor. Her slender waist and beautiful eyes made Yu Yuan's heart beat faster. He couldn't help but stare at Anzicheng for a while. Then, he shook his head and laughed. It's hard to connect the current you with the past. The past. Anzicheng glanced at him. Under his gaze, she spun in a circle and displayed her extremely beautiful body to her heart's content. Only now do I know that the medicine god's heavenly soul and earthly soul didn't return. The effect of the reincarnation pill was delayed by 300 years. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After the battle in the forbidden land of the fallen moons, the fact that Yu Yuan was the medicine god Hanch was no longer a secret. She had just learned the truth from her father, Anwen. Anwen had come to this conclusion on his own. He didn't know that he was Hancha's reincarnation, and one thought that his old friend, the evil king, had left him a key backup plan. Oh right. What about my mother in this life? Yu Yuan suddenly asked. What a heartless person. And Zicheng snorted softly. Don't worry. She was originally in the Fiend Demon sect on the Tranquil Continent. Later, she was taken away by my blood god. Even your father, the old dragons of the Dragon Concealment Lake, were forced to release her due to various pressures. Yu Yuan was taken aback. Those old dragons are easy to talk to all of a sudden? You left with 2 pieces of the dragon-slaying platform. No one dares to touch the one that holds the dragon race's fortune. As long as you're still alive, you're the one who has the best chance of refining that piece of the dragon-slaying platform. And Zicheng gave him a disdainful smile. Long Jie wouldn't dare to offend you. He was already scared of you in the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Before Grek possessed him, Shi Yuxuan from the Heavenly Medicine sect had long since told him that his parents' disappearance had something to do with the Heavenly Evil sect and the Dragon Concealment Lake. The Medicine God sect might even be behind it. Because of his mighty rise and the evil King Yuzhen had become the Bone Demon God, things that shouldn't have been easy to accomplish had been easily solved. Since he had never met his parents in this life, he didn't have deep feelings for them. However, after learning some inside information, he still didn't want his parents in this life to die for no reason just because they wanted him to awaken his bloodline. Now that he knew that they were fine, he was relieved. Let's go. I'll buy whatever you want. He immediately rose to his feet. In front of the strange, carnivorous spirit plants that looked like giant octopuses. And Zicheng pointed at the dark brown plants in the glass display window and asked, "How much are these?" Dressed in the old clothes of the Tongtian Trading Company, a thin girl from the Shadow Clan said in pure human language, 700 spirit jades. And Zicheng nodded. "Give them all to me. I'll give you as much flesh power as you can." "There's filthy power in them," Yu Yuan suggested in a friendly manner. "It's not good to refine them directly. Don't I have you? Your life altar is the best choice for this." And Zicheng said matter-of-factly. Chapter 1069. The many secret incantations the Blood God had passed down could be used to absorb the blood of living beings with immense flesh auras and refine power from their blood. However, the vast power in many powerful demons and fierce beasts from other realms was actually scattered in their flesh, bones, and internal organs. The Blood God's secret incantations couldn't effectively absorb and convert the rich flesh auras in their flesh, bones, and internal organs for their own use. And Zicheng had suffered serious injuries this time, and urgently needed a large amount of flesh aura to recover her strength. The Tongtian Trading Company, on the other hand, had given Yu Yuan most of their blood essence that could be directly refined in order to keep the immortal bird's nest functioning normally, and then had Chen Qinghuang use it on the immortal bird's nest. As a result, the company's reserves were seriously low. All that was left were the flesh and blood of some low-grade fierce beasts, as well as strange creatures like carnivorous spirit plants. However, the secret incantations Zicheng had learned couldn't directly refine flesh auras from them. Therefore, she had to rely on Yu Yuan's life altar. Fizz. Inside the crimson life altar that looked like blood crystals, plants that looked like octopuses were crushed into bloody powder. As the altar spun slightly, black and brown sediment sputtered out of it, along with many congealed blood clots. All of them were filled with a foul power that made it difficult to breathe. And Zicheng examined them with a wisp of her soul awareness, and felt that her mind was congested and her aura was unstable. Yu Yuan frowned inwardly. He had determined that these strange carnivorous plants were tainted. Not only were they filled with deadly toxins, but they were also filled with power that was harmful to one's body and soul. And Zicheng wouldn't have been able to refine them without his help. Apart from him, Tiansong's blood spirit altar might be able to melt it after it was fully activated. Moments later, countless wisps of blood mist of various colors rose from the crimson altar. Due to his connection with the altar, pure flesh auras fused into Zicheng's chest. With a splash, Zicheng's curvaceous body was once again covered by the purple divine armor. The cultivation room, which was originally dark and gloomy, suddenly became dreamy and blurry because of the bright purple light emitted by her strange divine armor. Wisps of bloody mist surrounded her, and were swallowed by her purple divine armor like a sponge absorbing water. Not long after, Anzicheng's face, which was originally too pale due to lack of qi and blood, gained a healthy flush and color, which made her look even brighter and more radiant. She was beautiful to begin with. Back when she was in the Yu family in Dark Moon City, she had deliberately adjusted her appearance so that she didn't look too eye-catching. If she hadn't tried to hide her beauty back then, her beauty would have been known throughout the Silver Moon Empire. Many years later, as the goddess of the blood god, she walked in Howren with her original appearance and instantly became the center of attention. Countless so-called young talents were haunted by her, unable to sleep at night. With a noble identity, an extremely terrifying cultivation talent, a ruthless and intelligent mind, and an extremely beautiful face, she had become the most dazzling goddess of the new generation in the tranquil continent. Lu Ying, Chen Qinyan, and the others were temporarily inferior to her. Later, I found out that my father's original plan was to set you and me up. Inside the 7 blood pools, Anzicheng's beautiful eyes suddenly rippled as she absorbed the rich flesh power in the bloody mist to nourish her flesh aura. It's just that I've always looked down on you. The corner of her mouth twitched as she looked at Yu Yuan with a half-smile. Yu Yuan didn't notice it at all. He didn't say a word. His mind was still focused on operating the life altar to make more bloody mist and help her recover her body. Are you afraid of me? Anzicheng suddenly moved closer to him provocatively and stared at him with wide eyes. Afraid of you? Yu Yuan grinned. Back in Dark Moon City, weren't you surprised to learn that I was a member of the Blood God and that I was at the Yin God stage? At that time, Yuan Lianyao was as weak as an ant under my feet. I could have killed her if I hadn't been careful. And Zicheng's beautiful face was filled with pride and conceit as she said these words. Even now, she's just as weak in my eyes. With a disdainful snort, and Zicheng continued, she's just entered the Soul Wander realm. Whether we're in Howren or in the Starry River, if she accidentally bumps into me. Whoosh! The spinning life altar, which had been continuously releasing blood mist, came to a stop. Sitting on the altar above her head, Yu Yuan's calm eyes gradually filled with coldness. If one looked closely, it seemed as if numerous serpents condensed from sword intent were about to roar out of his pupils and tear every living being in front of them to pieces. And Zicheng met his gaze without any fear. Then, she saw with great clarity that the serpents of sword intent in Yu Yuan's pupils were still changing. Slowly, they turned into the Chaos Koan that had briefly appeared in the starry ash sea and released an ancient aura that intimidated all living beings and made the gods and devils in the depths of the starry river submit to it. After watching for a while, Anzicheng suddenly let out a cold harumph and said, "What? Are you afraid that I'll kill her? You have to know that she's now cultivating in the Red Devil School, and the Red Devil School belongs to one of the 5 supreme forces that oppose us. Unless she betrays the Red Devil School, she'll be our enemy. Even if you see her, you'll have to fight with her, let alone me. Yu Yuan, oh Yu Yuan, I know you can't do anything to her. That's why I'm doing this out of goodwill. I want to take care of the problem for you. Yuan Lianyao, Chen Qinyan, Zhao Yafu. You can't kill them because of old ties, but I can do it for you. You know that I've never been soft-hearted." Before she could finish, Yu Yuan had already grabbed her snow-white neck. She, who had yet to recover from her injuries, was no match for Yu Yuan. Feeling the strength of his hand, Anzicheng's heart grew cold. She glared at him coldly and shouted in her mind, "What? Don't tell me you haven't thought about how you're going to face her in the future? The scenes I told you about are very likely to become reality in the future. If I really do run into Yuan Lianyao, Chen Qinyan, and Zhao Yafu one day, how will I treat them? How I will treat them depends on my situation at that time and how they treat me." Yu Yuan's expression was cold. "However, if someone dares to find them and kill them without my permission, I won't forgive them, no matter who they are." Bang! With these words, Anzicheng was thrown to the stairs leading to the next floor. After leaving the pavilion where Yu Yuan was, Ziqing followed Ghost King Chuling to another area where the Tongtian Trading Company had arranged for guests. Why do you have to provoke him? Ghost King Chuling was very confused. Because Ziqing was in a weak state, he had been guarding her in secret. Yu Yuan and Ziqing hadn't tried to hide their argument, so he had heard it. With him here, your recovery will be much smoother. Ghost King Chuling shook his head. I really don't understand you. I'll recover in the end. He's just speeding it up. And Ziqing actually didn't seem to care. This is the thousand-bird realm. There are so many experts here. I can't make any mistakes. As more experts from other realms arrive, refined blood will continue to appear. I'm not worried. There's no need for you to go against Yu Yuan, Ghost King Chuling said seriously. Ghost King Chuling said seriously. You know it yourself. You used a secret technique to call out his name after you were severely injured. This means that you think he's safe and trustworthy, right? You're just a kid, what do you know? And Ziqing rolled her eyes. Ghost King Chuling, who was in his young emperor form, let out a cold snort. I've lived longer than your father. I just can't stand him protecting Yuan Lianyao and those women. And Ziqing curled her lip. Coincidentally, they're all enemies. Even if I didn't do anything, other experts would have taken their lives with a little trick. Is this jealousy? Ghost King Chuling was surprised. No. And Ziqing shook her head. I'm helping a strong ally get rid of hidden dangers so that he won't go astray and be harmed by women. You're a woman too. Shut up. A few more days passed. Yu Yuan, who was sitting quietly and refining his soul with sunflower essence, suddenly woke up. His heart was beating wildly, and the life altar in his flesh aura world was spinning at an abnormal speed. After pondering for a moment, he communicated with Yu with his mind and asked Consort Han if anything was wrong. When he learned that Consort Han was still refining the Dark Domain Cold Well and the Frost Soul Cold Crystal, Yu Yuan felt even more uneasy. If it wasn't Consort Han, then it was. A figure dressed in emperor garments and a phoenix crown appeared like a ghost. The primal chaos Kuan should have entered the domain of annihilation. Chen Qinghuang stopped and stared at him with his eyes under the bead curtain. He said gently, since the primal chaos Kuan has always been on the opposite side of the five supreme forces, the Tongtian Trading Company and the Shunhun sect don't reject him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to leave the Sea of Starry Ash so easily. Yu Yuan nodded slowly. He also believed that He Sun, who had betrayed the Devil's Palace, also had the intention of releasing the primal Chaos Kuan and using it to mess with Howren. Otherwise, this star behemoth that had been sealed in the Howren Great World for who knew how many years wouldn't have been able to escape. President Li and the girl named Lin Zhuyun knew each other before she showed up in the domain of annihilation. They must be behind this. Chen Qinghuang stood and looked down at him. The primal Chaos Kuan must have been plotting something against you. You'd better be careful. I know. Chen Qinghuang suddenly disappeared, as if he had never been here. On the withered land, within the vast and magnificent palaces, a towering block of ice shone with dazzling icy light. Wisps of strange blood-colored light danced inside the block of ice, causing cracks to appear on it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Cold wind howled in this deathly silent world without a realm barrier. Streams of extremely cold currents in the outer realms seemed to be attracted by the block of ice, madly pouring into it and gathering inside. After an unknown period of time, crack! The block of ice exploded one by one. A figure with a cold aura and emotionless eyes suddenly broke out of the ice. She slowly moved her arms and wrists. With her as the center, the earth within 100 miles quietly froze and turned into a world of ice and snow. Thousand Birds Realm. She looked at the dark starry river and determined the direction. Then, she condensed into a cold lightning bolt and traveled thousands of miles in a flash. Chapter 1070. A few days later, near the withered land where Lin Zhuyun had left, a huge cyan luan exuding a destructive aura quietly approached. Just as it was about to reach this lost world, the extremely handsome cyan luan suddenly transformed into a large nest. Inside the nest, spatial power vibrated, and the auras of destruction and death mixed. Streaks of divine light interwove in the void, as if a strange gate of light that led to the past and present had been opened. A cyan figure flashed out of the gate of light. After checking the direction, it turned into a bolt of lightning and fell into this heaven and earth where the giant spirits had once lived. The large nest turned back into the cyan luan and continued to soar in the starry river at a speed comparable to that of the best ancient starships. The azure phoenix empress stood in the area of the many grand palaces. Her phoenix crown was withdrawn, revealing that beautiful face that could turn all living things upside down. No one could find any flaw in it. She could reach any of the nests of the immortal birds in an instant with her Tao integration power. As of this moment, she was heading toward Haosong's extermination hive, which she had first refined, from another location to this location. Now that she had refined 2 nests of the immortal birds, no matter where she was in the starry river, she could return to the annihilation nest and the annihilation nest in an instant. Now, she could descend to the 1,000 birds realm at any time. When the annihilation nest fell into the desolate god realm in the future, she could return to the Howran realm with a thought. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Wisps of gray smoke that were invisible to the naked eye and could only be sensed by experts with high cultivation bases flew out of the corpses of the giant spirits that had died 100,000 years ago. The gray smoke was filled with a strong aura of death. Wisps of refined death power that were still intact after 100,000 years merged into Princess Qing Luan's body one after another. The towering corpses of the giant spirit race that had been dead for 100,000 years and hadn't decayed were instantly reduced to ashes by the wisps of gray smoke. In a very short time, all of the giant spirits that had died due to the corrosion of death power were reduced to ashes. Shi Quan, who practiced the withering sword, and White Crane, who had derived enlightenment of death power, had both been here. However, they could only comprehend the residual death power within the corpses and comprehend its mysteries, but they couldn't refine it. However, as soon as Chen Qinghuang arrived, all of the remaining death energy in the corpse flew into her body like swallows returning to their nest. After a while, Chen Qinghuang gently stomped his foot. The earth rumbled and shook. Dust fell off the surface of the towering stone pillars that required a dozen people to wrap their arms around them. The spider webs, mottled bloodstains, and dust on the surface of the huge castle seemed to have been cleaned up in an instant. The engraved patterns on the stone pillars and the walls of the giant castle appeared. Ferocious and terrifying dragons with iron anchor-like claws coiled around the stone pillars, carved into the walls of the castle, and cracked stone slabs. "Dragon," Chen Qinghuang whispered. She observed carefully and found that the dragons in this world were very similar to the dragons in Howran. Their bodies, claws, and heads were not very different. The biggest difference was that the dragons carved on the stone pillars, stone slabs had broad wings. "Winged dragons," Chen Qinghuang muttered with a thoughtful expression. She thought of the legendary star behemoth that the giant spirit race worshipped since ancient times, Titanspinosaurus. Titanspinosaurus was the first powerful life form to be born in the boundless universe. It was a super-powerful star behemoth that was passed down for generations by all intelligent races. In the legends of the giant spirit race, they were the guardians of Titanspinosaurus. Titanspinosaurus had given them infinite divine power and bloodline talents. According to the giant spirit race, they were the first intelligent race before Titanspinosaurus disappeared. The immortal bird purposely chose the domain of annihilation as her battlefield. The races that lived in the domain of annihilation were actually the giant spirit race, who worshipped Titanspinosaurus. Her arrival caused the realms of the giant spirit race to quickly become a land of death. Princess Qing Luan frowned. The Tongtian Trading Company and the Shunhun sect chose this location. What are they planning? The Chaos Kun wouldn't travel billions of kilometers for no reason. Thinking of this, Chen Qinghuang was slightly worried. Thousand Birds Realm. Yu Yuan, who was focused on cultivation, suddenly felt a burning sensation from his arm bone. He was startled awake and tried to communicate with the Sword Soul with a heavy heart. The Sword Soul replied with a message. The presence of the sky supporting sword suddenly appeared. Yu Yuan was shocked. He immediately stood up and secretly communicated with the Cauldron Soul, Yui. According to the Silver Moon Queen, the sky-supporting sword was lost in the Azura race's mysterious dark realm. It was suppressed by the Azura race, and could never leave naturally. The Sword Soul, as a part of the Divine Sword, smelled the presence of the sky-supporting sword, and only for a moment what did it mean? Azura race, with a grim face, Yu Yuan left the hall he was in. Not long after, he found Elena, who he had not had much contact with since arriving at Thousand Birds Realm. There was also Fernan and Pattinson of the Shadow Clan, who had come together because the seal of Thousand Birds Realm had been lifted. The Dark Paradise stayed in the outside world. As bandits, they were arranged to stay in a not shabby area by the Chamber of Commerce. This was because the Chamber of Commerce gave Yu Yuan face. "Yu, why are you here?" Elena's joy was obvious. The corners of her eyes were full of smiles. "I know you should be very, very busy. You are the medicine god. I have been refining my bloodline recently. I am such a young level 8 warrior. If I were still in the Azura race, I would be preparing to go to the Dark Realm to explore." She clenched her fist and waved it forcefully. She was very proud. Fernan, who was once an Azura general, felt a little uncomfortable. After he and Pattinson came over, they found that the people around them were either Kennard of the Dark Spirit Clan, Beirut of the Star Clan, or important figures like Canley. Before he was expelled by the Azura race, his status and power could not compare to those few. Let alone now that he had become a bandit? The experts of the various races in the nearby VIP area did not pay much attention to them. Their eyes were filled with contempt and disdain, making them feel extremely uncomfortable. Pattinson originally wanted to lick his face and deliberately befriend him, but what he got in return was cold ridicule. That was especially true of the son of the forest of the Dark Spirit Clan, as well as his retinue, whose words were as unpleasant as they could be. Pattinson's mood plummeted, and he no longer had the face to strike up a conversation. Gradually, they also recognized their own status and did not have any extravagant hope. "Why are you here, Yu Yuan?" Beirut of the Star Clan inadvertently glanced at Yu Yuan and Elena when he passed by this building. He couldn't help but exclaim, "We're talking about something." Yu Yuan smiled and replied with an apologetic emoji, indicating that he wanted to talk to Elena and the others in private. Beirut looked suspicious. He wanted to come in and talk, but after seeing the refusal in Ye Tian's eyes, he had no choice but to leave. Whoosh! The evil demon cauldron was suddenly released. It slowly descended with its mouth facing down. "Let's talk inside." Yu Yuan waved at Elena and Fernan. Seeing Pattinson backing away nervously, he said, "You can come in too. It'll be fine." Pattinson looked pleasantly surprised. Only then did he come closer. After the cauldron descended and covered everyone inside, Yu Yuan believed that even President Li couldn't hear their conversation. Only then did he talk about the wonders of the Sword Soul in his arm bone. The Dark Realm is the Azura race's mysterious territory. "Do you know anything about it?" Yu Yuan asked humbly. Hearing this, the tall and burly Fernan fell silent for a while, pondering. After a while, he said in a firm and serious tone, "If the heaven-piercing sword is indeed in the Dark Realm, and your sword soul sensed it for a moment, then..." A dark realm frigid well should have appeared in the domain of annihilation, and it should have been opened and connected to the dark realm. Yu Yuan was confused. What does that mean? It means that the most extreme darkness and cold energy in the dark realm can be released. Fernand shuddered and said in a terrified tone, for example, if there is a dark realm frigid well that runs through Thousand Bird Realm and the Dark Realm, except for the rank 8 Azura, the Freedom Realm, and the rank 9 experts, the rest of the beings will die. Yu Yuan shook and couldn't help but think of the plan that the Platinum Azura wanted to achieve in the Desolation Ruins. Could it be that an Azura race expert was secretly doing the same thing? The Azura race is naturally adapted to the cold and darkness of the Dark Realm. If the Dark Realm's power really invades, Elena and I won't be affected too much. You, on the other hand, will be weakened and suppressed by the Dark Realm's power. You can only use power similar to a drop in realm. As Fernand spoke, he was clearly struggling. If, and I'm saying if, Thousand Bird Realm is flooded by the Dark Realm's power, and many Dark Realm Azuras descend from a Dark Realm frigid well. Among them is the Shura of Gojoseon of my race. Pausing for a moment, he let Yu Yuan digest it. Finally, he said, in that case, even if the Shunhun Sex God Kings arrive, it will be useless. Pattinson of the Shadow Race nodded slightly. The Shura of Gojoseon is almost invincible in the Dark Realm, or in a place flooded by the Dark Realm's power. I think I understand. Yu Yuan's mood was suppressed. He completely understood the meaning of Fernand's words. The Shura of Gojoseon in the Dark Realm, or in a place invaded by the Dark Realm, was like the Rage God in the swamp, or even more terrifying. He had the right time, place, and people. The peak power of a rank 10 bloodline made the Dark Realm's power respond to him. Even if the Shunhun Sex God Kings and the Chaos Koan came in person, they might not be a match for the Shura of Gojoseon. Suddenly, he thought of the Immortal Bird's nest. If the Annihilation nest in the form of the Blue Phoenix returned to Howran smoothly fell into the desolate God Swamp, when Thousand Bird Realm fell and Qin Qinghuang died, would the mighty Dark Realm's power be sent to Howran through the Immortal Bird's nest? Yu Yuan shuddered at the thought. Chapter 1071. Glaciers and snowy mountains were everywhere in the absolute frigid world, one of the 7 frigid abyss mouths. Junchen, the crane rider who was temporarily guarding this place, played a bamboo flute. The sound of the flute was melodious and ethereal, adding a hint of warmth to this frigid world. After playing a few songs that represented homesickness and love, Junchen put down the bamboo flute. He raised his sword-like eyebrows, and his eyes shone with a divine light that seemed to be able to see through everything. The misty surface of the sea had changed. While observing, Junchen secretly sensed that the cold currents that filled the Sea of Stars were no longer attracted to the frigid abyss mouths or converging on the surface of the sea. As one of the 7 frigid abyss mouths, this absolute frigid world was endlessly absorbing cold energy from the outer realms. He sent it to the 9 Serenities' frigid abyss in Howran world. The wonders and mysteries of the 9 Serenities' frigid abyss were closely related to the 7 frigid abyss mouth. They were inseparable and of great importance. Something's not right. Junchen instinctively felt that something was wrong. He knew that if there was an accident at one of the frigid abyss mouths, it might not be a big problem. However, if more than half of the other frigid abyss mouths had problems like this one, it would have far-reaching consequences and cause serious consequences. I have to report this to the president immediately. Junchen no longer hesitated. He tossed the bamboo flute in his hand into the air, and it turned into a small boat. Dressed in white, he jumped into the bamboo boat and headed towards the Thousand Birds realm. Long after he left, Princess Qing Luan floated over and stood on the icy surface of the sea. She released her soul will and penetrated the glaciers, snowy mountains, and the sea. The power of destruction and regeneration mixed with a weak aura of death spread in all directions. So it's one of the frigid abyss mouths. A moment later, the layout of the entire absolute frigid abyss mouths and the hidden formations in every corner formed a three-dimensional diagram that was deeply imprinted in her mind. She pursed her lips and smiled, as if she knew the secret between the 7 frigid abyss mouths and the 9 serenities frigid abyss. In the small world inside the cauldron. After Fernand explained the mysteries of the dark domain, Yu Yuan fell into deep thought. His mood was heavy because of this. The 3 outsiders looked around inside the fiend-demon cauldron. They could only see clusters of demonic patterns on the walls of the cauldron that seemed to contain the secrets of souls. On the other side, the wall of the cauldron filled with fiendish demons was covered in black demonic light. They couldn't see anything. Master Yu Yuan's thoughts were interrupted by the cauldron soul Yui's soft call. He came back to his senses and asked telepathically, "What is it? Come take a look." At the center of the black demonic light, a barefoot figure slowly appeared. She gently waved at Yu Yuan. "Wait for me." After saying this, Yu Yuan floated up and arrived at Yui's position. He easily passed through the dark demonic light and arrived at the other side of the cauldron. He and Yui floated side by side in midair. Opposite them was the 9th level of the cauldron wall stairs. There was only one fiendish demon on this level right now, Consort Han. Consort Han, who had shrunk thousands of times over, was sitting in a groove seat. Her entire body was like ice crystal. Her upper body had exquisite curves and was extremely beautiful. Her lower body was still that of a scorpion. Compared to her body, she had a scorpion tail that was as sharp as an icicle. At this moment, Consort Han's brows were tightly furrowed. She seemed to be bitterly resisting some external force. Pieces of the well that originally belonged to the shattered, dark domain cold well floated around her, as if they wanted to leave her. She refined and melted the fragments of the Frost Insect's Grand Elder Ruan Fu's avatar after his death. Ruan Fu's soul imprint was completely extinguished with her and my help. However, when she was refining the fragment of the dark domain cold well, it seemed to be pulled away by an external force and was about to break free. Yui's expression was very serious. If I hadn't reforged my body and recovered a lot of my strength, I would have been able to help her. These fragments of the dark domain cold well should be trying to break free from the fiendish demon cauldron and escape Consort Han's control. They should have already flown outside. She explained in detail. Yu Yuan approached closer and observed with rapt attention. She could see that there were extremely fine wisps of icy light coming out of Concubine Han's icy body, which were like hemp ropes that tied up the ice brick-like chunks of well, preventing them from escaping. These fragments of the dark domain cold well contain a strange power. After Consort Han completely refines them, she has a chance of becoming a fiendish demon on the 10th level. Yui looked reluctantly at the well fragments that Consort Han was struggling to hold. But right now it's already extremely difficult for her to control the well fragments. She doesn't have the extra strength to refine them. Yu Yuan narrowed his eyes. "Do you have any good suggestions? Master, do you still remember how this dark domain cold well was broken?" Yui asked with a light smile. He used the dragon beheading platform, where the 10th grade frost dragon was buried, to turn it into a sharp ice blade and cut through the wall of the well. Yu Yuan didn't have to think too much about it, and it hadn't been that long since the incident. Then, he immediately understood. "You mean, use the power of the dragon beheading platform?" "No, I think we can let Consort Han directly take those fragments into the inner world of the dragon beheading platform." Yui's eyes shone. Consort Han's breakthrough might be in that world where the frost dragon is buried. "Is it possible?" "I think we can try." "Okay." Yu Yuan immediately took out the 2 pieces of the dragon subduing platform that had merged into one. The shrunken dragon beheading platform turned into a long, prismatic stone in his palm. The dragon beheading platform was smooth, slightly cold, and heavy. It didn't overflow with shocking brilliance. Let me take a look first. With a whoosh, Yue, who had already condensed a strange physique, instantly entered the dragon beheading platform in his hand. She entered from a rather cold position. Yu Yuan was secretly surprised. Firstly, he was surprised that Yue, who had refined a physical body, could still enter the dragon beheading platform. Secondly, he was surprised that Yue, who had entered, had not broken the soul connection with him. The communication between the two of them was smooth and unobstructed. He also knew that Yue had called out to Consort Han and ordered Consort Han to take the fragments of the dark domain cold well and fly into the inner world of the dragon beheading platform. Concubine Han moved in response, only to crash into the grayish-white stone table with a loud clang. This fiendish demon that had transformed from a heavenly demon was rejected by the dragon-slaying platform. Unlike Yue, it could not enter the world inside smoothly. In her shrunken form, Consort Han still had an extraordinary bearing even though she was in a sorry state from the collision. She, who was only the size of a palm, looked at the dragon beheading platform in Yu Yuan's hand with fear and grievance. Her icy eyes seemed to be expressing the helplessness in her heart. After exchanging a glance with her, Yu Yuan had a feeling that this fiendish devil wasn't far from reaching the ultimate stage and fully awakening her memories. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so intelligent. Master, she may need you to escort her. Why don't you try to send your nether soul into her and fill her body with the aura of your nether soul? Yue reminded Nietian. Back in the forbidden land of the fallen moon, Yu Yuan had used his nether soul to wander around the 3 dragon beheading platforms. He had used the grand nether soul spell to refine and absorb the strange energy that the dragon slayer had left in the 3 dragon beheading platforms. In a sense, Yu Yuan was the true ruler of the dragon beheading platform. Yue had only been a maidservant, not the master of the dragon beheading platform. As a maidservant, she could go in and out of the dragon beheading platform on her own, but she didn't have the right to take people and things from the outside into the dragon beheading platform. Then I'll give it a try. Then let her refine the well pieces here, Yu Yuan said. Meanwhile, his true form in the fiendish demon cauldron heard the voices of Fei Shui and Bei Ning coming from outside. Yu Yuan, I'm Fei Shui. I hope to pay my respects to the heaven-splitting divine stone. Chapter 1072. In the starry river outside the realm barrier of Thousand Bird Realm, numerous expensive ancient starships were berthed in a scattered manner like a huge horde of strange beasts. Dark spirits, star spirits, bright lights, silver scales, and many other powerful outsider races could be seen on the starships. Occasionally, they would glance at Thousand Bird Realm with blazing eyes. Most of these outsiders were at the 6th or 7th grade, and their identities weren't noble enough. Therefore, instead of being taken to Thousand Bird Realm by their leaders, they had no choice but to wait on the starship. In the depths of their hearts, they also yearned to participate in the grandest meeting in the starry river. A dilapidated and small starship slowly approached, and suddenly attracted their attention. This starship was even more dilapidated than the ancient black iron starship that had appeared in the Nirvana spirit world. It was so slow that those with poor patience would probably vomit blood. Several clansmen of the Shadow Clan were wearing colorful clothes, crying miserably on the battleship. When they noticed that the members of various races on the enormous starships were looking at them, they wanted to cry, but had no tears. In the past, whenever they saw a starship of this scale in other parts of the Starry River, they would immediately run away. They knew that it was a regular army of various races, with powerful bloodline warriors guarding it. And they were bandits. Well, there's nothing we can do. A thin 7th-grade shadow race warrior sighed. Our leader is said to be dead. Only Lord Pattinson is still alive. But that white crane from the Tongtian Trading Company insisted that we bring her here. We didn't dare to refuse. With these words, he shot a glance at the emaciated female human, who was as thin as a twig. She had been secretly imprisoned by the shadow race for many years. They hadn't provided her with food that contained flesh power, spirit power, or other special abilities. After a long time, she had become so weak. When the woman was young, she should have been full of heroic spirit, with manly, sword-like eyebrows and a robust aura. However, she was too weak right now. Shouldn't you send me to that 1,000-bird realm? When Ewing opened her mouth, her voice was somewhat pale and powerless. You're not willing to give me enough food, and you don't have spirit stones or special spar. I haven't recovered yet, so I can't use my own strength to break through the air and enter the 1,000-bird realm. She had been locked up for many years, and was no longer aware of the situation in the outside world. They only knew that these Shadow Clan bandits had suddenly received an order to safely send themselves to the 1,000-bird realm to participate in a grand event hosted by the Tongtian Trading Company. Wasn't the Tongtian Trading Company based in Howran? Since when would they be able to openly operate in outer space and hold a grand event? Ewing was very confused. Look, even the battleships of the Star Clan are not allowed to enter the 1,000-birds realm, let alone us? The Shadow Clan member pointed at the distant battleship, a bitter expression on his face. Just as he was about to explain himself, he suddenly saw the Dark Paradise. His face lit up. Dark Paradise! As expected, Lord Pattinson of my clan has also come. The other Shadow Clan clansmen also became excited when they heard this. They had heard that Ronnie was dead, but Pattinson was the younger brother of their leader, Ronnie. He also had extraordinary talent, and there was hope that he could reach rank 9 bloodline in the future and continue to lead them. Whoosh! A boat flew over and headed straight for the 1,000-bird realm. A man in white robes stood on top of the boat made of bamboo. When he was about to sail past, he noticed Ewing among the Shadow Clan bandits. His eyebrows moved, and he guessed the other's identity. His mind moved, and the boat stopped. Are you Ewing of the Yu family of Dark Moon City? Junchen asked softly. On the boat, Ewing looked up at him, and her expression changed slightly. That's me. Her intuition told her that the white-robed man in front of her might be the strongest person she had ever met in her life. He was stronger than her master, than the people who had hunted her before, or even than any other existence she had seen in the outer space. It's good that it's you. Junchen nodded. He raised his hand and grabbed at the air. A gentle force instantly enveloped Ewing and took her away in the air. She landed directly on the boat. Return to where you came from, or continue to wait in the Grey Paradise. After saying this to the bandits, the small bamboo boat quickly flew back to the 1,000-bird realm. You are. Sitting on the bamboo boat, Yu Ying's expression was cautious. She felt uneasy. Don't worry. I'm the one who summoned those bandits and sent you here. Junchen smiled. He thought that it was a bit of a coincidence that he had run into Yu Ying on the way back. Because you are related to a very important person, and I accidentally heard about you, I had the White Crane tell Ronnie to bring you here. A very important person? Ewing lowered her head and frowned, thinking hard. Master had died in the outer space. Who in Howran has the power to help me? Behind the heavenly evil sect is Zhu Zhening of the Devil's Palace, the 5 supreme forces, and the ancient Baron sect's sect master, Han Yu, doesn't get along with Master. Why would he care about my life or death? Ewing was puzzled. She couldn't help but look up and ask, who is it? You have been imprisoned for too long. You don't know the situation in the outside world, and you don't know that many things have changed in the Howran world. For example, the current sect master of the ancient Baron sect is no longer Han Yu, but Zhongli Great Plate, Junchen said with a smile. Uncle Zhongli? Hasn't he been imprisoned in the sword prison? Ewing said in shock. He has indeed been imprisoned for too long. Jun Chen shook his head. Was it him who saved me? Ying kept asking for confirmation. It's not him, but… Jun Chen thought for a moment and said, when you reach the thousand-bird realm, you can verify it yourself. As long as you come into contact with human cultivators and chat with them, you will naturally understand everything. Ying was confused and secretly looked forward to it. In front of the stone tower where Fernand, Pattinson, and Elena were, the white hair of the Void Spirit Race's elder, Fei Shui, was loose. Behind her was her student, Bei Ning, who had a calm temperament and outstanding appearance. In the past, Fei Shui had taught Bei Ning, but because Bei Ning's talent wasn't outstanding, she only treated her as half a student. Now, after Bei Ning's bloodline had reached rank 8, and because of her experiences in the Dark Nirvana spirit world and the Dark Paradise, she had made a great contribution. She had sent a message to the race and accepted Bei Ning as an official student. For this, she had given her a few small things as proof of their close relationship. I am Fei Shui. I hope to pay a visit to the heaven-splitting divine stone. Seeing no response, she bowed slightly. She wasn't dissatisfied. Instead, she softly requested again. She secretly sent a thought to Bei Ning through a secret bloodline art. What kind of person is that boy? Is he a beauty or a treasure? Is it food or power? She wanted to figure out Yu Yuan's preferences and find the right medicine to treat them. An odd expression appeared on Bei Ning's face. After a moment of hesitation, she also replied with a bloodline art. I can't say for sure. If we're talking about beauty, I'm sure. I'm not inferior to Elena. But he didn't do anything rude to me, and he almost killed me in the Dark Nirvana spirit world. Also, he wasn't interested in the late Grace. The Moonlight people and the Void spirits were full of beautiful women. Bei Ning thought that she and Grace were both above average. However, when they had been in the Nirvana spirit world, Yu Yuan had almost impatiently killed her and Grace. She hadn't seen Yu Yuan having any special thoughts about her since Yu Yuan had interacted with her. However, in the Dark Paradise, Yu Yuan and Elena had. Bei Ning shook her head, feeling that she couldn't see through him. Then she said, I can't see any other treasures or food. Fei Shui was shocked. Inside the pavilion, the fiendish demon cauldron floated up, revealing Fernand, Elena, and Pattinson. Yu Yuan's true body landed on the ground. The cauldron rapidly shrank and flew back into his Zigong meridian. He was still holding the dragon beheading platform in his hand. His Yin spirit had returned. Yu Yi and Consort Han were still in the dragon beheading platform, the world where the frost dragon was buried. Come in. After adjusting his state of mind, Yu Yuan let out a cough and allowed Fei Shui and Bei Ning to enter. Soon, the two void spirits, old and young, stood in front of him. Fei Shui's eyes lit up brightly the moment she saw the dragon beheading platform. Her bloodline and the treasures of her clan that she had secretly kept in her body reacted strongly at the first moment, allowing her to realize that the long, grayish-white, prismatic stone in Yu Yuan's hand was the heaven-splitting divine stone. Yu Yuan, Yu Yuan. As soon as she opened her mouth, she found that she was so excited that she couldn't speak clearly. Yu Yuan didn't know what to say. He knew that the elder of the void spirits in front of him must have misunderstood something. I just happened to derive enlightenment from this dragon beheading platform. I didn't take it out for you to worship, Yu Yuan explained. Then, under Fei Shui's extremely disappointed gaze, he put the dragon beheading platform away. Consort Han and Yu Yi were both inside. Even if he wanted to worship the dragon beheading platform for Fei Shui, now was not the time. I don't expect to be able to take the dragon beheading platform back from you. I just want to be able to derive enlightenment from the heaven-splitting divine stone. Fei Shui took a deep breath and prepared herself to be taken advantage of. Tell me, what do you want from us? Or what do you want in exchange for my enlightenment from the heaven-splitting divine stone? Not now. Yu Yuan's attitude was firm. We'll talk about it later. Just as Fei Shui was about to say something, Yu Yuan's expression suddenly changed. At this moment, he sensed in horror that the aura of the heaven-piercing sword was extremely close to him. By the time he reacted and tried to capture it with his sword soul, he found that it had disappeared without a trace again. Only when the Dark Realm Cold Well was open and connected to the Dark Realm would he and his sword soul be able to detect the slightest movement. Once it was closed, they wouldn't be able to capture anything. But just now, not only his sword soul, but even he had sensed it. This meant that there was a cold well that connected to the Dark Realm nearby, and definitely not far from him. I'm in big trouble. Not in the mood to talk to Fei Shui anymore. He hurriedly left. Chapter 1073. In the tall buildings of Thousand Bird Realm, people dressed in the clothes of the Tongtian Trading Company were busy. Dazzling gems, translucent energy crystals, ancient artifacts, and sharp divine iron and refined gold were displayed one after another. Even the sacred artifacts that the races had lost for many years were bathed in light and clouds and appeared in some of the palaces. The human race had been fighting in the outer realms for many years. Many rank 9 experts, high priests, elders, and even peak rank 10 patriarchs might have died in the war. After their souls were destroyed, the sacred artifacts, divine robes, and armor they carried with them were collected by the human race cultivators. These artifacts were taken as spoils of war to Howren and placed in their own sections. However, the sacred artifacts of the foreign race experts needed to be combined with their unique bloodlines to unleash their full power. The human cultivators could not use these sacred artifacts to their full potential. At most, they could use them as something to show off. With their power, the Tongtian Trading Company secretly bought those expensive sacred artifacts and brought them back to the outer realms. Similarly, the carefree realm cultivators and young god experts of the Howren sects died in the encirclement of the races and had their heaven-grade artifacts seized. The foreign race experts in the outer realms could not unleash the terrifying power of such artifacts. The Tongtian Trading Company secretly bought the spirit artifacts of the major sects that had disappeared in the outer realms and displayed them. The reason why this event was able to attract the nobles of the various races in the universe, including many Howren outsiders like Luo Yu and Chuling Ghost King, was that everyone could find something useful in Thousand Bird Realm that only existed in legends. Yu Yuan hovered in midair and looked down at the tall stone palaces and the distinguished guests of the various races with a gloomy expression. Many 8th and 9th grade outsider experts, as well as 7th and 6th grade outsider juniors with high bloodline talents, were completely unaware of the dangers that lay ahead of them. They were all looking forward to the grand meeting that would officially begin in 10 days. He estimated that there were almost 1,000 foreign race guests in Thousand Bird Realm, and there would be more in the future. They must be the elites of the intelligent races in the depths of the Starry River. The Azura race really dares to be so vicious? He thought to himself. Not long after, the sole remembrance he released all received feedback. Emperor Hantian, Heavenly Devil Green Nightmare, and Ghost King Tian Tsang, the 3 representatives of the Shenhun sect, were the first to arrive. What's wrong? Tian Tsang asked curiously. Wait a minute. Yu Yuan indicated that there was someone else. Whoosh! A white light flashed, and the chubby Zhou Yu suddenly appeared. I'm guarding that death lair. Many materials are still being transported from other celestial river ferries. I have to keep an eye on it. Do you have nothing better to do? Why are you in such a hurry to find me? Where's President Li? Yu Yuan frowned. Didn't you say there were mutated fiends in the Annihilation Starfield? This is no small matter. President Li has gone to verify it himself. He won't be able to come for a while. Zhou Yu explained, but don't worry. The members of the Chamber of Commerce have their own duties. They can operate normally without him. What I'm going to say next, You have to inform President Li as soon as possible. It's very important, Yu Yuan said softly. Zhou Yu was slightly surprised. Is it very troublesome? Yu Yuan nodded. Then let's talk somewhere else. Zhou Yu swung his horsetail whisk and temporarily opened a secret space door, indicating that everyone should go in. Everyone stepped in one by one without any doubt. An instant later, they arrived at a secret cave in Thousand Bird Realm. Many stalactites hung upside down in the cave. There was an obvious array that blocked all soul remembrance and chi blood. Many of President Li's orders are delivered here. Zhou Yu's expression was serious. Don't worry. Even nascent soul experts can't spy on this place. Okay. Without hesitation, Yu Yuan told him about the strange connection between him and the sword soul. In the end, he said, I wasn't in a hurry to say it because I didn't know the location of the dark domain Cold Well. I thought it was extremely far away from Thousand Bird Realm. Also, I only felt the aura of the heaven-raising sword once and thought it was an illusion. But now, I don't think so anymore. The dark domain Cold Well is nearby. As soon as these words fell, the expressions of everyone in the cave changed greatly. Han Tian, leave immediately and inform the others in the Shenhun sect about this. Heavenly Demon Green Nightmare said seriously. The heaven-shaking martial monarch nodded before he left the place. Lord Yuqian, you and I will go outside to search. You stay in Thousand Bird Realm. Although Heavenly Demon Green Nightmare was the God King's trusted aide, he still called Tian Song by his original name and looked very respectful. That was because Yu Qian's ranking in the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land was higher than his, and he was also a senior of the heavenly demons in the Outer Realms. Okay, Tian Song agreed. I'll think of a way to contact President Li and tell him how serious the problem is. Zhou Yu said. Whoosh. Suddenly, a boat floated over and slowly landed in the cave abode. Where's President Li, Mr. Zhou? The strongest guest elder of the Chamber of Commerce, dressed in white, was obviously anxious to see President Li, so he came directly to this place. Jun Chun paused for a moment when he saw Green Nightmare and Tian Song. When he saw that Yu Yuan was there as well, he couldn't help but look strange. Yu Ying, who had come with Jun Chun on a bamboo boat, looked a little uncomfortable. Zhou Yu, Green Nightmare, and Ghoul King Tian Song all exuded extremely powerful auras. In her opinion, they weren't any weaker than Jun Chun. A Freedom Realm cultivator, a demon god, and a Ghoul King from the Land of Terror. She secretly paid attention to them, and was even more shocked when she realized what was going on. Finally, she noticed Yu Yuan, who looked very young but whose flesh aura was as vast as the sea, and the dark blue iron ring on Yu Yuan's wrist. The Heavenly Dipper Shield. Yu Ying couldn't control herself anymore and exclaimed. Yu Yuan looked at the extremely thin woman in front of him in confusion. Are you a cultivator of the Heavenly Dipper sect? Isn't the Heavenly Dipper sect on the same side as the 5 supreme experts? Senior June, did you capture her? The Heavenly Dipper Shield was an artifact of the Heavenly Dipper sect. Seeing that the woman in front of him recognized it at a glance, he suspected her identity. Jun Chun twitched the corner of his mouth and shook his head. No. Then, Yu Yuan was about to continue asking when an idea came to his mind. He suddenly remembered Elena's words and instantly understood. Yu Yuan of the Yu family of Anua City greets Grandma Ying. He bowed deeply and paid his respects. A descendant of the Yu family? Whose child are you? Yu Ying shuddered and burst into tears. Trembling, she went to support Yu Yuan. You've become a Yin divinity, and you've gone to the depths of the earth? Did you take out the Heavenly Dipper Shield? She had left early. When she came back secretly, Yu Yuan hadn't been there. Yu Ken is my grandfather. My father is Yu Ju. At this time, Yu Yuan didn't say that he was the reincarnation of the medical god Hanch. Looking at the heroic but exhausted woman in front of him and feeling her surging emotions, Yu Yuan's heart was filled with warmth. He didn't say anything but just nodded and said, "My real cultivation base is the Soul Wander Realm now." Soul Wander Realm. Yu-Ing was extremely excited. "Brother, I'm proud of you. When I left some things behind, I only told you in secret that because of the Heavenly Dipper Sect's pursuit, I didn't dare to stay for too long, lest I bring disaster to the family. So, I hurriedly escaped into the outer realms of the Starry River. I didn't dare to contact the 5 supreme forces in the outer realms of the Starry River, fearing that the Heavenly Dipper Sect would find me. My dead master didn't have a good relationship with Han Yu of the ancient Desolate Sect. So, I became a heretical cultivator in the outer realms of the Starry River. Later, my situation wasn't very good and I was reduced to." Yu-Ing recounted what had happened over the years with tears in her eyes. Sensing the feeble aura in her body, coupled with what Elena had said earlier, Yu Yuan had a rough idea of what had happened to this old man from the Yu clan. Yu Yuan held her hand tightly and said softly, "It's good that you're fine. Since you're fine now, you'll be fine in the future. You two can catch up later." Zhou Yu smiled bitterly and said to Junchen, "Yu Yuan sensed a cold well that connects to the dark realm near the Thousand-Bird realm. We're worried that this is a scheme of the Shura of Gojoseon and the great demon god Grek. Their purpose is to deal with this meeting." Junchen was shocked. "I came here in a hurry because there's something wrong with the mouth of the frigid abyss." "There's something wrong with the mouth of the frigid abyss?" Zhou Yu's expression was grim. "It seems that Yu Yuan's judgment is correct. There's still some time. We need to find that dark realm cold well as soon as possible. We can't let this meeting turn into a graveyard." "Yes." Junchen also knew the seriousness of the matter. He nodded, pointed at Yu Yuan, and said to Yu-Ing, "The Chamber of Commerce asked Ronnie of the Shadow Clan to send you here because they wanted to give him face. Your martial uncle Zhongli of the ancient Desolate Sect doesn't have the face to ask me to do such trivial things for him." Yu-Ing shuddered. Chapter 1074. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. The evil soul beasts loyal to the Shenhun sect, Junchen, Zhou Yu, and the others from the Chamber of Commerce tried their best to search for the dark cold well, but to no avail. Seeing that the date of the meeting was approaching, the Chamber of Commerce and the Shenhun sect, who knew the inside story, were all shrouded in a shadow. In these 7 days, Yu-Ing appeared in various parts of the Thousand Birds realm. Through the conversations of some people and her deliberate inquiry, she finally found out how powerful the junior of her Yu family was. When Yu-Ing went to visit Zhongli De and Xin Feiqing, she met Tan Yuan, who could be considered to be from the same sect. Thus, she learned that Yu Yuan actually had the identity of the medical god, and had received the recognition of the Shenhun sect and the inheritance of Niechingtian's sword Dao. She had drifted in outer space before, so of course she knew the legend of Niechingtian. As for the Shenhun sect, she had heard so much these days that calluses were about to grow on her ears. At that moment, she realized that Jun Chen's last words to her were not a joke. Yu Yuan, in the current Thousand Birds realm, in the Shenhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce, had a higher status than Zhongli De. When she learned that the ancestor of the Yu family, with the help of Yu Yuan, became the first ghost god in the history of the Land of Fear as the White Bone Ghost King, Yu-Ing was even more shocked. The Yu family has become so dazzling. The Chamber of Commerce had specially arranged a palace for Yu Yuan. On the second floor of the palace there was a cultivation room. Luo Yu knocked on the door softly. When she heard Ziqing say, "Come in," she entered with a smile. She handed over a bottle of pills. "Missin, these are 10 great blood origin pills. The blood energy contained in each pill is equivalent to half of the blood energy of a level 8 great demon. In the pill bottle as thick as an arm, the great blood origin pills were like solidified blood crystals, releasing a gentle halo. Yu Yuan asked me to send it," Luo Yu added. And Ziqing, who had taken off her purple divine armor and was now wearing an elegant purple dress, had a water tank in front of her that was emitting a strong smell of blood. And Zicheng, who was refining pure power from the great blood origin pills with the blood refinement incantation, could sense the boundless flesh aura they contained even through the glass bottle. She narrowed her eyes and asked, "These pills? It's like this. Canli of the Radiant Race asked us to refine a batch of pills that can benefit the soul. As for the rewards, they'll give us quite a large amount of outsider blood essence." Luo Yu explained with a smile. He refined this cauldron of great blood vitality pills himself. He gave you one bottle and asked me to give the other to Yu Ying. He also kept some for himself. At least he still has some conscience. With a snort, Zicheng calmly put away the bottle of precious great blood vitality pills. As she fiddled with the contents of the pill bottle with her fair, tender finger, she instantly realized that every single grand blood origin pill contained at least one drop of blood essence from a 9th-grade fierce beast or outsider. If she refined some low-grade blood and mixed it with more than a dozen kinds of blood-activating herbs, not only could it quickly replenish her flesh aura, it could also heal her internal organs in a short time. Every great blood vitality pill should be at the level of a heaven-grade pill. To her, the ancient desolate sect, the fiend demon sect, and other cultivators who valued their bodies, these pills were definitely incomparably precious. At a critical moment they could even be used to save their lives. And Zicheng muttered to herself for a moment. She thought that since the Thousand Birds realm had new vicious beasts and foreign clan blood, she had the intention of enjoying it in the future and was about to throw the great blood essence pill into her universe ring. "He said that you need to take one as soon as possible," Luo Yu reminded her. "You need to have enough strength before the start of the festival." And Zicheng's expression changed slightly. "Is the Thousand Birds realm not safe?" She wasn't stupid. She had thought of this possibility from Luo Yu's words. There were experts of the Tongtian Trading Company here, great cultivators of the Shunhun sect nearby, and honored guests of various races. Under such circumstances, Yu Yuan still wanted her to recover as soon as possible. Didn't this mean that there was a hidden danger? Luo Yu nodded and left quietly. After she left, Zicheng hesitated for a moment, then took out a great blood vitality pill and swallowed it carefully, digesting the pill's power with all her strength. The 8th day, Thousand Birds realm. In the pit where the death lair was, after a series of turbulent spatial vibrations, 5 unkempt cultivators with dark red hair and unkempt appearance appeared. The 5 were all humans, men and women. They were not young, and their robes were embroidered with crimson lightning patterns. "We're not late, are we?" The leading Mahasvara realm cultivator wore an agate necklace around his neck. Within each agate, red lightning shot out and fused with his flesh. "There are still 2 days. Just in time," Zhou Yu greeted with a smile. He could tell at a glance that these 5 belonged to the former Great Thunder Firmament sect. Each of them was proficient in thunder and lightning secret art. After rushing into the outer realms, they established their own sect and refined the blazing soul flame lightning from a strange lightning pool. They could be said to be the natural enemy of the outer realms' heavenly devils and ghosts. Qi Yunhong was their previous successor in the vast sky image. They had bestowed upon him some of the blazing soul-leeching lightning. "That kid from the Qi family is indeed in the Thousand Birds realm. I smell the lightning." An old granny with missing front teeth grinned. When she mentioned Qi Yunhong, her face was full of smiles. "That kid is pleasing to the eye. He'll be one of us sooner or later. A few years ago, I asked someone to give him some blazing soul flame lightning. He really did cultivate to the Yang spirit realm." She was also a Freedom Realm cultivator, and the leader of another lightning sect in the outer realms. "Crazy woman, you want him to inherit your mantle?" The old man with the agate necklace chuckled. "His temper is very similar to yours. No wonder you like him." The old granny was about to speak when her empty left sleeve suddenly swelled. It was as if something was trying to rush out, but after her expression changed slightly, it was wrapped in a ball of lightning and failed to successfully show itself. The other 4 lightning cultivators frowned when they saw the strangeness of her sleeve. It seems that we guessed right. The old granny with missing front teeth took a deep breath and glanced at her sleeve. That thing is related to the fiendish demon cauldron. It should be the foreign object you mentioned. You're Zhou Yu, right? Where is Yu Yuan? We have business with him, she said solemnly. Everyone, is it a good thing to find Yu Yuan, or is it trouble? Zhou Yu knew that the 5 people in front of him had been running rampant in the outer realms for many years. They had enemies everywhere and acted domineeringly without any rules. Let me make it clear first. Not only is Yu Yuan very close to our Chamber of Commerce, he's also... The person in the giant bronze coffin asked us to take care of him. Does Taisher attach great importance to him? Why would God King Taisher care about that kid after he broke out of the forbidden land of the falling moons and displayed his invincible might again? Is it because that kid played a part in Taisher's rebirth? The few independent evil cultivators from the lightning element sect clicked their tongues in wonder. Zhou Yu shook his head. I don't know. Alright, don't overthink it. We don't have any grudges against that kid. Besides, even I know that Qi Yunhong was able to reforge his yang spirit body because of him. The old granny let out a strange laugh as she lifted her sleeve and said, That thing inside might be from the fiendish demon cauldron. I got it by chance and asked Yu Yuan for help. What is it? Zhou Yu's curiosity was aroused. It should be one of the 12 fiendish demons, the old granny said. Maybe it's only a part of it. It was very weak when I got it. I fed it with souls and specters, and it gradually grew stronger. However, I'm not its master after all. It's not very obedient. Zhou Yu went blank. Then what are you going to do? The old granny snorted. I'm going to ask Yu Yuan for some pills. That won't be a problem, right? Ha ha ha, I see. Chapter 1075. In the spacious hall on the first floor of the pavilion, Yu Yuan looked at the 5 uninvited guests in front of him. Master, let me introduce them to you. Qi Yunhong stood in front of them and bowed to Yu Yuan. After seeing Yu Yuan nod, he said, They are from the Thunder Imitation Sect. As you know, the Thunder Imitation Sect is the other group of cultivators who came from the Howran Thunder Imitation Sect. Due to differences in spirit incantations, secret arts, and choices, they parted ways with the Thunder Imitation Sect. After hearing his words, Yu Yuan immediately understood and said, Are they the people who gave you the blazing soul thunder? Qi Yunhong nodded. I'm Qiao Yuling. The old granny with missing front teeth chuckled and introduced herself. Then, she looked at Luo Yu and Wen Lu, who were also in the hall, and said, I'll get straight to the point. Young Qi is a cultivator chosen by the Thunder Imitation Sect. I know that a wisp of his soul is in the soul wood spirit doll in your hand. I want you to give him complete freedom. As for me, I'll give you something in exchange. To tell you the truth, I heard from him that you saved him in the Scarlet Sun Empire. You helped him reforge his yang spirit body. Plus, I want to keep in touch with you in the future, so I'll give this to you. Fizz. The cat's eyes were like amethysts, and they shone with a cold, bloodthirsty, and brutal light. When Lu took a look and screamed, because her soul felt an instinctive tremble. Luo Yu, who had become a ghost king in the land of terror, was also on guard when she saw the cat. Yu Yuan frowned slightly. It feeds on souls, ghosts, and heavenly devils. Qiao Yuling smiled. Whoosh! The cauldron soul, Yui, suddenly flew out from the Zigong acupoint in Yu Yuan's chest. In a flash, it stopped in front of the kitten. Yui squatted down, her eyes shining as she reached out to touch the cat's head. Be careful, Qiao Yuling reminded him kindly. The other 4 Thunder Slaughter sect cultivators looked at her as if they were watching a joke. Whoosh! Yue easily tore apart the crimson lightning that enveloped the kitten. This caused the 5 Thunder Slaughter sect cultivators present to be secretly shocked. Although those lightning bolts were not burning soul-burning lightning, they still contained violent lightning power. Moreover, they were personally refined by Qiao Yuling, so they were definitely not something that ordinary people could break. However, not only did Yue break it, she also did it so casually. The little cat, whose eyes were filled with coldness, bloodlust, and brutality, did not immediately start a massacre after it was freed from the restriction. Instead, it stared blankly at Yue, who was gently stroking its fur. The 5 Thunder Slaughter sect cultivators immediately withdrew their disdain. After they looked at each other, their attitudes immediately changed. What, you don't remember? Did your memories become dusty after you fell in rank? Yue laughed softly and held the cat in her arms. She said to Yu Yuan, "This is Yu Li, one of the 12 fiend demons. These people should be from Howren's Thunder Slaughter sect, so..." As she spoke, she also sent a soul thought to Yu Yuan to clear his doubts. The Fiend Demon sect had been destroyed during the civil war between the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent. The Thunder Slaughter sect had contributed the most to the death of her previous master. After all, the power of thunder and lightning was a natural counter to fiend demons. Most of the 12 most powerful fiendish devils had vanished into thin air after the death of her previous master. This Yuli must have been severely injured by the experts of the Thunder Slaughter sect, captured alive and secretly imprisoned. Somehow, it was taken to the outer realms and fell into Qiao Yuling's hands. Don't blame it on us. We weren't even born when the Fiend Demon sect was destroyed. Qiao Yuling's expression didn't change. We found this cat in the sect's forbidden area when we left Howren. We took it with us. I once used this cat to kill heavenly devils and fed it the souls of heavenly devils and outsiders. Unfortunately, I couldn't awaken its intelligence. If I released it, it would only know how to kill. Qiao Yuling explained. Yu Yuan nodded to show that he understood. However, he didn't immediately respond to her. Instead, he continued to communicate with Yue. Then, he learned that the fiend demon named Yuli was an earth demon that had been born in a strange place in Howren. It had been slowly transformed by the fiend demon cauldron. With Yuli's current rank, it could be ranked 8th in the fiend demon cauldron. Moreover, after it returned to the fiend demon cauldron and received the soul energy of the fiend demons below, it had a chance to reach the same level as Consort Han in a short time. Yue told him about Yuli's power and uniqueness. Then, he made a decision. With a thought, he took out the Soul Wood Spirit Doll from his ring of cosmos. He recalled the secret method of soul mastery and the method to break the seal. His Een spirit left his body. Qiao Yuling and the 4 Thunder Slaughter sect cultivators had strange expressions the moment they saw his Een spirit. "You're quite bold. You dare to leave your Een spirit in front of us." The old man with the red agate necklace grinned. "You should know how dangerous it is in front of a cultivator skilled in thunder and lightning, right? If you dare to attack me, don't even think about leaving the 1,000-bird realm alive," Yu Yuan said calmly. As he spoke, his Een spirit entered the Soul Wood Spirit Doll and found Qi Yunhong's soul imprint. He took it out and erased all traces. The Soul Wood Spirit Doll was supposed to imprison the Een spirit and completely control it. He didn't do that to Qi Yunhong back then. Instead, he allowed Qi Yunhong's Een spirit to return to his body. However, for some reason, he still left a soul imprint so that Qi Yunhong was still willing to listen to him. Now, he had wiped away all traces of Qi Yunhong from the Soul Wood Spirit Doll. There was no longer any trace of Qi Yunhong's aura. The puppet's fingers also changed because of this. It no longer had Qi Yunhong's corresponding shape. "I feel a bit more relaxed mentally." Qi Yunhong bowed respectfully to Yu Yuan. But deep in his heart, He couldn't help but remember the enormous soul he saw inside the soul wood spirit doll. He felt the fear and shock at that time. Therefore, even though he had obtained great freedom, he still maintained a humble attitude in front of Yu Yuan. I still feel that something is wrong. Come with me. I'll take a closer look. Xiao Yuling didn't want to waste even a second. Seeing that the deal was done, she didn't waste any time and turned to leave. After Qi Yunhong bowed apologetically, he followed a few cultivators of the Thunder Slaughter sect and disappeared from the palace. He seems to still regard you as his master, and it's from the bottom of his heart. Luo Yu smiled in surprise. She also felt that it was strange. She didn't know what kind of magic Yu Yuan had that could make a madman like Qi Yunhong willingly submit to him. Yu Yuan smiled carelessly. He watched as Yu Yi led the kitten named Yu Li into the fiendish demon cauldron. The 9th day. Heavenly demon Green Nightmare, Ghost King Yu Qian, and even Zhou Yu came to find him and told him that they didn't find the location of the dark domain Cold Well. Yu Yuan, who was uneasy, no longer insisted on cultivating. Instead, he shrank back and personally refined pills. The 10th day of Lei Feng's trade fair arrived as scheduled. The Tongtian Trading Company, who had finished their preparations, put out all kinds of pills, artifacts, armor, and divine garments they had collected. The skeletons of giant beasts and great demons, the formations that hid the laws of the universe, and many divine metals and precious crystals. The experts of the various races and evil cultivators immediately became busy. After another cauldron of pills was finished, the tired Yu Yuan stood up. He just happened to hear President Li's motivational speech. There's a high-grade spirit artifact left behind by the Red Devil School for sale. Do you want to buy it for your big sister Yuan? And Ziqing's mocking voice seemed to float in from outside the palace and sounded in Yu Yuan's room. Yu Yuan's eyes turned, and he picked up a small stone from the corner of the wall. He squeezed it hard, and the stone exploded. And Ziqing didn't say anything else. Next time, don't play this game with me. Lei Feng. Sorry, I was caught up with a few episodes of Spirit Realm's new TV series and was delayed. I only have one chapter today. It's like this, the TV series Spirit Realm, which was adapted from Old Ni's old book, was broadcasted on iQIYI last night. The quality and features are very good. The plot, of course, is very different. However, I specially watched a few episodes and felt that it was really worth watching. Let me recommend it to everyone. Go take a look. It's a Xuanhuan and Xianxia style, not wuxia. Chapter 1076. There were a total of 7 floors in the pyramid-shaped hall that was hundreds of meters tall, and thousands of artifacts were displayed. From the outside, the huge pagoda-shaped hall bloomed with bright light, like the residence of a god, giving people a deep sense of visual shock. Standing under the great hall, the human cultivators were as small as ants. However, as long as any foreign clansman saw a human appear beside them, their expressions would be slightly shocked and they would be secretly on guard. The human race, in every part of the vast and endless starry sky, had a transcendent status in front of all the advanced, intelligent races. This was the respect and honorable status that countless human cultivators had earned over the past tens of thousands of years, fighting their way into the outer realms and fighting bloody battles with them. Inside the magnificent hall, the first floor occupied hundreds of acres. Even the tall clansmen of the giant spirit clan would not feel oppressed and uncomfortable walking inside. The huge Thousand Birds world was completely controlled by the Tongtian Trading Company. Of course, they had considered everything carefully. When Yu Yuan led Luo Yu, Wen Lu, and Ziqing into this huge hall that sold all kinds of artifacts, he was also shocked. The first thing he saw was 7 chariots made of gold, bronze, and black iron. The 7 chariots were 5 to 6 meters tall and more than 10 meters long. Under the illumination of the gemstones on the first floor, they bloomed with light and revealed a murderous aura. The railings, banners, and some auxiliary items of the chariots were all carved with gems, jade, and crystals. They looked magnificent. The Silver Scale clan and the Banshee surrounded the chariots and were asking the people of the Chamber of Commerce for the price. "Hey, you guys are here too!" Old Copper Chien suddenly popped his head out of nowhere. He stood in front of Yu Yuan with a smile on his face, nodding and bowing. These chariots were created by the skilled craftsmen of the Bright Light clan. They can absorb the light of the sun, moon, and stars and store them in the engraved array inside. He first gave a simple introduction, and then said, "Unfortunately, these chariots don't have an energy light curtain to cover the entire body. Therefore, they can't rush into the outer space and can't block the infiltration of the filthy power. If placed in Howren, it would be fine to use it as a front for the various empires and clans, but it doesn't have any other value." Qian Lao Tong was obviously a regular customer. When he was talking to Yu Yuan, he also frequently greeted the members of the Chamber of Commerce. Apparently, those members of the Chamber of Commerce were familiar with him, and many of them were outsiders. "You're doing pretty well," Yu Yuan said in surprise. "Haha, it's all because you have more face." Tong Lao Qian arrived in his yang spirit body with a jade rui hanging from his waist. His pure energy body was wrapped in gorgeous clothes. Those clothes were not the ones Yu Yuan had worn when they first met. Upon closer inspection, many of the decorations and engravings were not in the style of Howren. "I bought it recently. It can help me refine the power of metal." In front of Yu Yuan, old Qian Tong's mind moved slightly. He saw the clothes release a golden brilliance. It was like a golden river that filled the clothes. There were many golden flecks of light and jade nearby. They seemed to be sucked into his clothes and were about to merge into them. In particular, the gems and jade that were carved into the chariot were even more dazzling, as if they were about to leave the chariot. Old Qian Tong's original intention was to show the wonders of the clothes, not to seize the power of metal and stone from nearby. Therefore, he quickly dispersed the strangeness and said to Yu Yuan, "I came here with Zhou Yu. He's a high-level member of the Chamber of Commerce. He told the people below that I'm your trusted aide. That's why she saw me in a different light." He was not embarrassed at all by relying on someone else's power. Instead, he seemed proud. "This hall has 7 floors. The treasures and spirit artifacts below are relatively low-level. Of course, there are more of them." He raised his hand and pointed to the east and the west. "There are all kinds of chariots and flying artifacts for sale. Over here, there are all kinds of armor, spirit armor, and some magical clothes. Look over there. They are all offensive weapons, ice blades, crystal cannons, fire spears. And over here," Qian Tong explained the layout of the first floor of the stone palace to Yu Yuan, as if he was very familiar with it. Yu Yuan nodded repeatedly as she followed Nie Tian's gaze. Dozens of meters away, Yuing, Shen Feiqing, and Tan Yuan, who were all at the same level and were all from the ancient Baron sect, heard old Qian Tong's voice among the Moonlight people and the Demon Scorpion race. The 3 women turned around and saw Yu Yuan looking at them. The female war god, who was petite and had cultivated the ancient Barren Void World incantation for many years and had an old grudge with Yu Yuan, looked at Yu Yuan and turned her head back coldly. In the desolate god Great Lake, Tan Yuan, who had received Yu Yuan, smiled faintly and nodded in greeting. Of course, Yuing smiled warmly. Her originally skinny body had been nourished by qi and blood. The great blood vitality pill had recovered a lot of strength. She looked much younger and was full of heroic spirit. "My Yu family doesn't have to worry about not having good descendants." When Yu Yuan looked away, Yuing laughed softly. "When Lu and the girl from the blood god beside him are not bad. I think they are quite suitable for him. Senior sistering, that kid is very fickle." "You don't have to worry about that. When I met him in the desolate Forgotten Land, I saw that he had good luck with women. Shin Feiqing snorted. You should think about how to deal with those messy relationships. There are many girls in Howren who are deeply in love with him. There are more. Yu Ying's eyes brightened. I can prove that there are indeed many. Tan Yuan pursed her lips and smiled, as if she thought of something interesting. The most powerful one is the great sword immortal who cultivates the star frost sword. What do you think? Jining Shuang. Yuing was shocked. Great sword immortal Ji's temper isn't very good. Her disciple also likes that guy. I don't know how to deal with him in the future. Tan Yuan touched the pot that didn't boil. When these words came out, Yuing started to worry. She frowned and sighed. Sigh, what should I do? As a person who has lived 2 lives, it is indeed a mess. Do you know where the fire cloud demon armor is? Yu Yuan withdrew his gaze from the distance and asked old Qian Tong. Wait a moment, let me see. Old Qian Tong took out a small booklet from his chest. Wisps of soul thought flew into it and seemed to be quickly flipping through it. A moment later, he flipped to the last page of the booklet, glanced and said, It is on the 5th floor, North District, where all kinds of armor are sold. Yu Yuan nodded and went directly to the 5th floor. On the way, he met Baker of the Star Race, Lady Peach and Pattinson of the Shadow Race. They all greeted him. The Fire Cloud Demon armor was one of his targets. He planned to buy it and give it to Yuan Lianyao when he met her in the future. The Fire Cloud Demon armor had a powerful background. It belonged to the Fire Cloud Demon of the Red Devil School. He was a late-stage Freedom Realm expert and had been killed by the Primal Yang sect. The Fire Cloud Demon's surname was Duan. The Crimson Sun Empire's Duan family was his descendant. During the battle between the Tranquil Continent and the Tianyuan Continent, the Primal Yang sect had led experts to break through the Crimson Devil sect's gates and forcefully killed the Fire Cloud Flame Devil inside. This was a great humiliation for the Crimson Devil sect. The reason why he had to kill the Fire Cloud Flame Devil was because this fiendish cultivator of the Crimson Fiend sect originally had a chance of breaking through to the primordial spirit realm, making the Crimson Fiend sect a top sect like the primordial Yang sect. Adding on the Fire Cloud Demon's domineering and bloodthirsty nature, the primal Yang sect felt that the threat was too great. That was why they had destroyed the Fire Cloud Demon even at the cost of their own lives. The Fiery Cloud demonic armor was one of his more famous artifacts. It was a 7th grade heaven grade artifact and was seized by the Primal Yang sect after his death. Later, it was refined by the previous Mountain Master of Eastern Sun Mountain and became his protective artifact. The Mountain Master before Feng Pu had also been killed by the Star Race and the Radiant Race during a war in the Outer Realms. The Fire Cloud Demon armor had fallen into the hands of the Radiant Race. The Radiant Race couldn't unleash its full power, and they weren't willing to sell it to increase the strength of the experts of the Primal Yang sect and the Red Devil School. Therefore, it had been kept in the sacred land of their race until the Tongtian Trading Company had come to trade for it with the resources they needed. That was why this artifact had appeared in this grand meeting. After skipping the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors, Yu Yuan went straight to the 5th floor. Under Old Kappa's lead, he rushed to the northern district where the armors of various races were displayed. My young master wants to buy the Fire Cloud Demon armor. Old Copper yelled from afar, his voice loud and clear. Many gazes looked over from different areas of the 5th floor. Yu Yuan, White Crane, Shi Quan, Thousand Calamity Ghost King, Zhong Li De, Mia, and the others from the Goblin Temple were also on this floor. They all turned their heads to look. A girl from the Dark Spirit race, who was dressed in the clothes of the Chamber of Commerce, said timidly, "You're late. It's already been sold." "We're sorry, but we bought the Fire Cloud Demon armor." Kelt, one of the elders of the Dark Spirit race, and Kennard, the son of the forest, were standing at the counter in front of the girl. Kennard, wearing a pair of silver gloves, was playing with the Fire Cloud Demon armor and examining its secrets. He seemed not to have heard old Kappa's words, nor did he know that Yu Yuan had come. He was focused on the armor in his hands. When Lu's expression became unnatural the moment she saw him, she shrank behind Yu Yuan, not daring to show her face. Chapter 1077. And Ziqing walked forward briskly, but her eyes were cold. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, her abnormal behavior instantly attracted the attention of all the guests on this floor. Zhong Li De, Shi Quan, and the Thousand Tribulations Ghost King couldn't help but gather around her. Yu Yuan was also surprised. And Ziqing isn't going to mess around here, is she? Luo Yu frowned and pulled Yu Yuan's sleeve. You'd better stop her. The Chamber of Commerce doesn't want anything bad to happen on the first day. She knew that the divine daughter of the blood god had been domineering and didn't know how to behave when she was in Howran. Luo Yu was worried that Ziqing wouldn't be able to control her temper and cause unnecessary trouble for herself and Yu Yuan. She's not that reckless. Yu Yuan shook his head and told Luo Yu not to worry. And Ziqing, who was dressed in a long purple dress, had bright eyes, white teeth, and rich flesh aura. Many of the outsider experts present turned to look at her and tried to find out who she was. The blood god. When they learned that Ziqing was the divine daughter of the Howran blood god, the outsider experts sucked in a breath of cold air. The sect of the blood god was notorious in the outer regions of the galaxy. Shi Quan, White Crane, Zhong Li De, and the other evil Howran cultivators looked at Ziqing with amused expressions. This item, and Ziqing walked past Kennard and Kelt of the Dark Spirit race and stood in front of the young Dark Spirit girl at the counter. Her two hands, as white as jade, slowly pressed down on the table. Then, she looked into the young girl's eyes and said, "If I remember correctly, I came here yesterday and even told you to leave this for me, right?" Her words caused an uproar among the crowd. For the sake of making things a bit more lively and eye-catching, the Skyspan Trading Company had distributed the books in old Kappa's hands ahead of time. At the beginning of the pageant, all kinds of spiritual tools, medicinal pills, and spiritual materials were clearly marked in each hall, floor, and area. It was also because of this that after old Copper Chien flipped through it, he immediately said the location of the Fire Cloud magic armor. The Chamber of Commerce's rule was that the items displayed could only be purchased on the day of the event, so Ziqing had informed Yu Yuan to come over early on. However, she had come here yesterday and found the girl from the Dark Spirit clan. She told the girl about her and Yu Yuan's identities, and wanted to reserve the room with spiritual stones. When the girl heard the name, Yu Yuan, she said that there was no need to reserve it and that she would help keep it. Who knew, yesterday, you didn't pay the reserved spirit stones. The girl from the Dark Spirit clan lowered her head, not daring to look into Ziqing's eyes. She explained in a low voice, "They came here first and bought it at the marked price." Since we couldn't think of anyone else who would buy those two items other than you, I didn't think much of it. Zhou Yu nodded and bowed to Yu Yuan in embarrassment. Seeing that Yu Yuan wasn't angry, he relaxed and said, "That's it then." His expression was cold as he said the last sentence to Kelt. "This demonic armor and this blood god's jade medallion in exchange for the necklace on her neck. What do you think?" Kennard, the son of the forest, raised one item in each hand. He first looked at Yu Yuan, then at Wen Lu, and then at Yu Yuan. "We don't have any personal grudges against each other. This is a deal. Let's work together happily in the future." By now, everyone knew what Kennard was up to. He didn't make a big fuss. With his power, he had used a young girl in the Chamber of Commerce to buy the items that Yu Yuan and Ziqing needed in advance in order to get the Dark Spirit clan's holy tool on Wen Lu's neck. He would achieve his goal in a way that he thought was in line with the rules. "We didn't have any personal grudges against each other before," Yu Yuan said with a smile. "But we will in the future. With these words, he didn't look at Kennard or Kelt again. He led Luo Yu and Wen Lu to the upper floor. He showed his refusal with his actions. Elder Mia, we won't refine pills for any dark spirit clansman other than you. Also, no matter what level of medicine refinement Wen Lu reaches in the future, or what level her dark spirit bloodline reaches, as long as Kennard is still in the Shaoen clan, she won't return to the dark spirit clan. Yu Yuan said as he walked. Mia complained inwardly at the side. Mr. Zhou, either you let the son of the forest leave the thousand-bird realm, or I leave. You choose. Before Yu Yuan stepped onto the 6th floor, she left behind these words. I'm sorry. Zhou Yu sighed and looked at Kennard with a helpless expression. You can take the demonic armor and the jade medallion with you. However, this grand meeting has nothing to do with you. Is this how the Chamber of Commerce does things? Kelt shouted angrily. Kennard said with a gloomy expression, Mr. Zhou, we were invited here. From our star field to Thousand-Bird Realm, do you know how long the journey was and how long it took us? That's why I'm sorry. Zhou Yu nodded and said, that girl from your dark spirit clan, who was bewitched by you, is also the target of the Chamber of Commerce. You persuaded her and made her make a mistake, which means you broke the rules of the Chamber of Commerce first. Zhou Yu narrowed his eyes. With or without Yu Yuan, you're no longer welcome in the Chamber of Commerce. He then looked at all the outsiders present and shouted, many of your clansmen were sent here by you to serve the Chamber of Commerce. Remember, the moment they joined the Tongtian Trading Company, they became members of the Chamber of Commerce. They have nothing to do with you anymore. The Shaoen clan boy of the Dark Spirit clan broke our rules, so he is no longer allowed to stay in the Thousand-Bird Realm. Chapter 1078. On the 6th floor of the palace. The moment Yu Yuan stepped in, he could no longer hear the clamor below. The higher the floors of the pyramid-shaped building, the smaller the area it took up. The value of the items on display also rose steadily. The 6th floor was probably set up with a soundproof and soul remembrance barrier, so it was abnormally quiet. Those who came and went on this floor were all people with extremely noble identities and astounding wealth. For example, Beirut of the Curtis family of the Star Race, Fei Shui of the Void Spirits, Canli of the Radiant Race, Lu Lu of the Great Demon, Tian Tsang of the Ghost King. Yu Yuan. A tall man with shoulder-length silver hair waved his hand at Yu Yuan with a bright smile. Not bad, kid. You've made a name for yourself so quickly after we parted at Azure Luan City. Impressive, impressive. Even I admire you. The man looked to be in his early 40s. His gray robes were covered in crescent moon patterns. Tan Chun Shan. Yu Yuan stilled. He didn't expect to run into this hermit of the Moon Sect at the Thousand-Bird Realm's grand meeting. Tan Chun Shan was at the late stage of the Freedom Realm. He was the most famous expert of the Star Moon Sect and the Moon Sect. It was said that he was the most loyal supporter of the mysterious master of the Moon Sect. He still remembered that Lu Lu had gone to stop him at Azure Luan City. Then, Zuan had stepped in and forced Princess Qing Luan to give up her position. Beirut had also said that he had fought Tan Chun Shan, and the two of them had been evenly matched. Don't think it strange. The Star Moon Sect and the 5 supreme forces of Howran aren't on the same side now. Tan Chun Shan smiled. You should have heard that the master of the Moon Sect has successfully reached the peak of the Moonlight People's bloodline with the help of the Moonlight People and the Shenhun Sect. Beside him stood a thin woman of the Moonlight People. She was extraordinarily beautiful and had a rank 9 bloodline. She's not the leader of the Moon Clan. Her name is Nora. Like Bertha, she's an elder of the Moonlight People. Tan Chun Shan winked at Yu Yuan. She heard about the misunderstanding between you and Bertha. I apologize on behalf of Bertha. Looking at Nora, who was in her 30s, she placed her palm on her chest and bowed. Bertha has. Yu Yuan said softly. Nora nodded, indicating that the higher-ups of the Moonlight people knew everything. Yu Yuan didn't continue. Yu Yuan, let me introduce you. Beirut, who had been revived by Yu Yuan's medicinal pellet, was standing behind Tan Junshan and Novi. He pulled a Star Clan young man, who wasn't very tall and looked somewhat shy, and said, Leo, this is the Yu Yuan I told you about. The young man named Leo smiled brightly at Yu Yuan. He had a broad forehead and gentle eyes. Dressed in a snow-white priest robe that was unusually loose, he said, Thank you for your medicinal pills. Leo's bloodline was only at the 8th grade, but he gave Yu Yuan a strange feeling. Yu Yuan chose his words carefully. You felt it, didn't you? From afar, Canley walked over with a smile. Leo is the same as me. He was born with an altar. Therefore, even though his clan isn't very powerful, he'll most likely become the next high chieftain of his race. Yu Yuan was inwardly shocked. Those who were born with life altars were naturally favored. In any race, such people would be the most precious treasures. Canley was like this, and so was Leo. Yu Yuan, you've come at the right time. Tan Chun Shan beckoned for him to come forward. Then, he made some space and pointed at a sparkling necklace behind the counter. I want to buy this necklace for Lu Ying, but Beirut wants it too. Yu Yuan's eyes lit up as soon as he saw it from afar. The ring-shaped necklace looked like a sea of stars. The dozen or so irregularly shaped crystals that decorated the necklace shone with pure light. Beirut snorted. The sea of illusory stars is a sacred tool of my race. Not long ago, Tan Chun Shan had helped the 5 great forces appear in the outer realms of the Starry River. Even though this hermit of the Moon sect didn't go around killing people, he had helped the experts of the other side escape from the outsiders' joint forces. This had made Beirut set his eyes on him since a long time ago. However, Tan Chun Shan's battle prowess was so strong that it amazed him. He had set up several encirclements against Tan Chun Shan, but all of them had failed. The Sea of Illusory Stars does belong to your race, but isn't it in the hands of the Chamber of Commerce now? Tan Chun Shan smiled and said to Yu Yuan, Lu Ying will definitely come out in a few years. I want to prepare a gift for her in advance. This thing doesn't need a special bloodline to activate. Lu Ying can control it. If you want to buy it for Lu Ying, then buy it for Lu Ying. What does it have to do with Yu Yuan? And Ziqing glared at Tan Chun Shan impatiently from behind. She had nowhere to vent her anger, so she asked, Is the Star Luna sect so poor that you want to borrow money from Yu Yuan? Of course not. Tan Chun Shan cleared his throat and then smiled awkwardly. Yu Yuan, didn't you renew Beirut's life force? Why don't you talk to him and ask Leo to give the Sea of Illusory Stars to us? Even if you don't want to give me face, you should think about Lu Ying, right? Well, Yu Yuan seemed to be in a difficult position. Is this Lu Ying he mentioned yours? Beirut suddenly asked. After a moment of hesitation, Yu Yuan said, She's a very good little sister. Beirut pondered for a moment, then said, Leo wants to take the Sea of Illusory Stars and derive enlightenment from it first. When that Lu Ying girl breaks out of Howren, if the Star Luna sect still isn't on the same side as the 5 great forces, you can ask Lu Ying to come find me. At that time, I'll see if she has the ability to gain the Sea of Illusory Stars acknowledgement, Leo said. I'm eager to learn some of the profound truths hidden in the Sea of Illusory Stars. This divine tool itself isn't very helpful to me. It's more of a symbol of the High Priest. That works too. Tan Chun Shan grinned and patted Yu Yuan's shoulder in a friendly manner. You're the one with the most face. Old Beirut and I begged him for a long time, but he didn't respond to us. Sigh, comparisons are odious. Tan Chun Shan, Lu said coldly. Get out of here if you don't have anything to do. Don't be an eyesore. Hey, can't you be nicer? That's the past. Our Star Luna sect isn't in the same boat as the 5 great forces. With a bitter face, Tan Chun Shan pulled Nora, the Moonlight People, down to the next floor. After a moment of hesitation, Nora said, "The Silver Moon Queen is also a member of the Moonlight People. Can you go back and talk to Emperor Heaven Shaker, and ask him to release Consort Yu's discarnate soul in the Thousand-Bird Realm?" Yu Yuan was taken aback. Then, he remembered that Emperor Heaven Shaker had refined Consort Yu's discarnate soul with the heroic soul incantation in the Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moon. Because of that, Consort Yu's discarnate soul was incomplete. Can he return it if he refines it? Yu Yuan asked. Consort Yu's cultivation base is even higher than Emperor Heaven Shaker's, and he's only refining her soul power. Consort Yu's discarnate soul power didn't dissolve, Nora explained. I'll talk to him about it. Many thanks. Only then did she follow Tan Chun Shan downstairs. Are the Moonlight People and the Moon Devils on good terms now? Yu Yuan rubbed his chin. Almost all of the Moon Devils were killed by Nye Qin Tian, Tian Tsang explained with a smile. Because of that, the relationship between the Moon Devils and the Moonlight People changed. Now, the Moon Devils are attached to the Moonlight People. Tian Zong explained with a smile. Especially after the Master of the Moon Clan ascended to the nascent soul stage as a member of the Yueya clan, the Yueya clan became extremely popular. They had an overwhelming advantage over the remaining moon demons, so there was no need to worry. Yu Yuan nodded to show that he understood. Here, take a look at this. Tian Tsang waved his hand. I think you'll find this useful. Chapter 1079. A long saber in a scabbard made of sharkskin was quietly placed on the counter behind Tian Tsang. Behind the counter stood a beautiful heart demon woman. She had refined a demon body, but she kept a distance from the counter, as if she didn't want to get too close to it. She obviously recognized Tian Tsang. That was why every time she looked at Tian Tsang, her eyes would shine with admiration. Tian Tsang beckoned Yu Yuan over and pointed at the saber that was more than a meter long. This is it. When Yu Yuan got closer, his heart thumped wildly. Even the life altar inside him was spinning at a high speed. After stopping, he secretly released a wisp of his blood aura to examine it. Don't do that. The heart demon woman saw through his intentions and hastily stopped him. Junchen, the first guest elder of the Chamber of Commerce, also walked over from the 6th floor. In a flash, he appeared in front of Yu Yuan. Frowning slightly, he looked at Tian Tsang and said, "Why did you recommend the blood prison to it?" Blood prison? Ziqing, who had come with Yu Yuan, paled upon hearing this. Fei Shui of the Void Phantom, Beirut, and Leo of the Star Race also looked over after hearing the two words, blood prison. Whoosh! Lu suddenly appeared. He opened his hand and pressed it on the counter. Shaking his head at Yu Yuan, he said, "I don't think this gendo suits you." Yu Yuan was speechless. He had never heard of the name blood prison, but judging from the expressions of Ziqing, Junchen, and Lu, he knew that it was probably not simple. His heart and the life altar inside of him were also telling him about the strangeness of the saber. The blood prison was forged by a divine-level artificer of the Tool sect 150 years ago. On the day the blood prison was formed, the Gendo devoured that artificer's flesh and blood. Not even his bones were left. He died on the spot and his soul was destroyed. And Ziqing's expression was very serious as she spoke of this. After that, the demonic saber was sealed and sent to a 9th-grade heaven shaking Yuan in the outer reaches of the Starry River. After refining the blood prison, the Zhentian Yuan's strength skyrocketed. However, rumor has it that he only used the blood prison 3 times before he followed in the footsteps of that god-level equipment forger, having his flesh and soul devoured by Gendo. After that, the Gendo changed owners 5 more times. There were Azura race experts, Ancient Baron sect experts, Silver Scale race warriors, and Devil's Palace's Freedom Realm experts. Without exception, all of these people who thought their bodies were tough and their flesh auras were as vast as the sea were killed by Gendo's backlash in battle. Including its creator, a total of 7 powerful individuals have died in Gendo's hands within 100 years. And Ziqing explained in detail. Because of her words, Yu Yuan's mood gradually became heavy. A Gendo that had killed 7 of its owners? What's the name of the god-level equipment forger who created it? Yu Yuan asked with furrowed brows. 300 years ago, he was familiar with many equipment forgers in the tool sect. God-level equipment forgers were as rare as alchemists. He wanted to know who its creator was. Xian Feng, and Ziqing answered. Xian Feng? Xian Feng died because of this Gendo? Yu Yuan's expression changed slightly. The Xian Feng he knew was a heaven-grade equipment forger. He was eccentric and stubborn, and didn't have many friends in the tool sect. However, his equipment forging skills were extraordinary. Yu Yuan's friends in the tool sect had said that Xian Feng would sooner or later go astray and step onto the path of extremes like him. Who would have thought that Zhentian Yuan used to be under my control? He was very strong, Lu Lu said with a grim expression. When he died because of this Gendo, I was imprisoned in Sword Prison and wasn't there. However, I know that this Gendo that can devour him is definitely extraordinary. Don't go looking for trouble. Jun Chun chimed in. Neither President Li nor the Shenhun sect wants anything to happen to you. As he said these words, anger and dissatisfaction could be seen in his eyes, which were directed at Tian Song. You don't know Yu Yuan very well. You haven't spent much time with him. Tian Song smiled carelessly and pushed Lu Lu away with his devil hand, revealing the Gendo under the counter. Yu Yuan has a life altar inside of him. He should be able to suppress this Gendo. Yu Yuan, you'd better not try, Bei Lu exclaimed. Canli of the Radiant Light race pursed her lips and said with a faint smile, I agree with Lord Yuqian. I also think that if anyone in this world can control this Gendo, he's definitely one of them. Whoosh! A beautiful figure wearing a phoenix coronet came down from the 7th floor. Noticing the argument, she stopped. Princess Qing Luan. Many outsider experts, human heretic cultivators, and greater demons on the 6th floor couldn't help but look at her. However, she only stayed for a moment. After looking at Yu Yuan, she went down another floor. Many outsider experts looked at her with unfriendly gazes. In the decades before the Shenhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce invited them to the Thousand Birds realm, there were probably more than 100 outsider elites who had died at the hands of this Princess Qing Luan. They were all dazzling stars and upstarts with great potential. Therefore, many outsider experts hated her very much. She seemed to know this as well, so she didn't stay and flew away. If you want to deal with the primal Chaos Kuan, this Gendo called Blood Prison might come in handy. This saber is fierce, and it will be very troublesome for you to refine it. I can give you some help. A wisp of her thoughts quietly sounded in Yu Yuan's mind. Yu Yuan, who was still hesitating, instantly made a decision because of her words. What's the price of this Gendo? 30,000 spirit jades. The witch of the mental demon race said timidly. It's that expensive? Yu Yuan was shocked. His soul thought flew into the universe ring and counted his wealth. He found that the spirit jades and spirit crystals he had were far from enough to buy this Gendo. Unless he sold something else, such as pills, you can buy it on credit. President Li's voice came from the 7th floor with a hint of mockery. Most of the artifacts and armors on the 6th floor were heaven-grade. The sacred artifact, Sea of Illusory Stars, that Beirut spoke of was about the same as heaven-grade according to the level of artifacts in Howran. The outsiders also referred to their most powerful spiritual tools as divine tools. Yu Yuan didn't know anything else, but he knew that there were 2 divine artifacts on display on the 7th floor of the palace. One came from the outsider races, and the other could be used by human cultivators. However, the Chamber of Commerce kept the two divine artifacts a secret. Since Yu Yuan didn't lack artifacts, he didn't ask. However, seeing that Princess Qing Luan had come down from the 7th floor and that President Li was there in person, he knew that the divine artifacts on the 7th floor were probably extraordinary. I'll sell some pills and some other things later to make up for the spirit jades I owe you. Yu Yuan nodded and said to the witch of the mental demon race, "This saber belongs to me now." As he said this, he was about to take Zhendo out. "Yu Yuan, take the counter with you. There's a ceiling formation on the counter," President Li said. "All right." Yu Yuan walked up and motioned for Junchen, Lu Lu, and Tian Tsang to move aside. Then, he put the universe ring on Zhendo's shoulder and was about to throw the counter into the spatial ring. A moment later, his expression became strange. "It doesn't work?" Mustard bracelets, universe rings, and bags of holding can only store inanimate objects. Spirits are already very troublesome. Tian Tsang shook his head. "As for living things with flesh auras, I'm afraid the universe ring won't be able to hold them. So, take the counter with you and take it with you." "Okay." Yu Yuan suddenly moved to the stairs and shouted down, "Qian Tong, come up." "Okay." Not long after, old Qian Tong rushed all the way over. When Yu Yuan explained the situation, he came up to him fawningly, lifted the counter, and threw it to his jade pavilion, taking the demonic blade named Blood Prison away from the 6th floor. Chapter 1080. In a galaxy not far from the thousand-bird realm, the two pieces of land stood upright like tall mountains, forming a strange canyon in the middle. The canyon was like a door, and a golden sea of light surged inside. Bolts of golden lightning flashed in the canyon, deriving the trajectory of the great Tao of metal and the mysteries of the laws. On the two towering lands on the left and right, there were two golden towers that looked coldly at the canyon like golden vertical eyes. In front of the canyon, there were gray withered trees that were thousands of meters tall, fluttering like giant feathers. On the branches of the withered trees, monsters that were transformed from experts and ferocious beasts of various races crouched. A smell of decay, desolation, and antiquity spread out from the sea of trees and mutated creatures. Boom! The gray withered trees were like giant palm leaf fans that were afraid of hitting the golden sea of light in the canyon, causing the lightning in the sea of light to sputter. Many mutated monsters entrenched in the withered trees were hit by the golden lightning, and their rotten bodies were instantly pierced through, but they could quickly heal in a short period of time. The galaxy in front of the canyon was unprecedentedly rich in tainted energy, as if it was providing endless support for these mutated monsters. Just like that, 9 days had already passed. 9 days ago, President Li had come here and used the mysteries of the great Tao he had grasped to connect two pieces of land to build a canyon. The barrier that formed a golden sea of light was to prevent these gray withered trees and mutated monsters from crossing the boundary. All the tainted energy in the void on both sides of the canyon was sucked away and melted into the two pieces of land. As a result, it formed a void that the mutated monsters could not adapt to and would instinctively resist or even fear. This also caused the mutated monsters and gray withered trees to either break through the canyon that contained the golden sea of light, or they would keep retreating and directly leave the annihilation star field. Other than that, there was no other choice. Therefore, many gray withered trees and thousands of mutated monsters continued to repeatedly charge into the canyon and the golden sea of light, trying to pass through. Not a single mutated monster or gray withered tree chose to return the way they came. On the 10th day, a warrior of the giant spirit race, clad in ancient battle armor and covered in a gray aura of decay, suddenly emerged from the path that the withered trees and mutated monsters had taken. This giant spirit race warrior was also a monster that had been corroded by the tainted energy of the outer realms. Most of his face was festering, and his dark brown eyes released a twisted and chaotic light. He was 30 meters tall, much more muscular than most of the giant spirit race clansmen. After he appeared, the gray withered trees naturally and made way for him. The mutated monsters entrenched on the trees were extremely quiet, as if they were waiting for something. Whoosh! The giant spirit clan's warrior, who had been eroded and mutated, suddenly began to speed up, rushing towards the canyon through the passageway between the gray withered trees. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! One after another, thousands of murky, gray energy streams flew out of the gray withered tree branches and poured into the body of this strong and tall giant spirit clansman. The mutated warrior of the giant spirit clan seemed to have received an infinite boost of fighting strength. The tattered ancient armor on his body also became brighter, as if it had been activated. Bang! Enveloped in terrifying power, he charged into the golden sea of light inside the canyon like a gray flood together with his armor. In the next moment, he was engulfed by the golden lightning in the sea of golden light and was struck by lightning. The golden sea suddenly started to spread outwards. He seemed to be entangled by thousands of golden lightning snakes inside the sea of light. He silently struggled, tore apart the lightning, and tried to break free. At the same time, in the thousand-bird realm, President Li, who was guarding the divine artifact on the 7th floor of the pyramid-shaped palace, suddenly woke up. The 3rd floor of the building the Chamber of Commerce had built for Yu Yuan. Old Qian Tong used the Jade Pavilion to put down the counter that held the blood prison of Zhendo. Yu Yuan gave a batch of pills he had refined before to old Qian Tong. He roughly explained the effects of the pills and the price they could be sold for in Hauran. It wasn't old Qian Tong's first time helping him sell pills. It could be said that he was familiar with the process. After taking the pills, he asked a few more questions that he didn't understand. After Yu Yuan waved his hand, he bid farewell and left. And Ziqing, Luo Yu, and Wen Lu didn't return with Yu Yuan. Luo Yu took Wen Lu to another palace to identify pills and buy some materials that could be used to refine pills. And Ziqing went to the palace that sold the flesh and bones of fierce beasts and great demons to buy things that could help her replenish her blood energy. Yu Yuan was the only one left in the cultivation room on the 3rd floor. He looked at the counter in front of him and the blood prison of Zhendo inside. Just as he was hesitating, Princess Qing Luan, dressed in a dragon robe and a phoenix crown, suddenly appeared like a ghost. She said in a gentle but dignified voice, "Yu Yuan, I'll take you somewhere else to refine the blood prison." Yu Yuan didn't know why, but he instinctively felt at ease with her. Furthermore, the reason why he had ignored everyone's advice and bought the Zhendo at the high price of 30,000 spirit jades was because she had secretly transmitted a voice to him before she went downstairs. Okay. With these words, Yu Yuan nodded and enveloped the counter with wisps of spiritual power. You should be prepared. We'll be far away from here. Chen Qinghuang didn't take off her phoenix crown. After she walked closer, she stretched out her hand to Yu Yuan and said, "Take my hand." Without thinking, Yu Yuan held her slender, white hand. He felt that her hand was slightly cold, as if he was holding a piece of white jade. It was extremely warm to the touch. The moment he held her hand, he keenly felt that the heart of the strongest female emperor in history was beating slightly faster. In the next moment, a power of destruction and regeneration that made his heart stop and suffocate him burst out at the same time. Before he could react, he felt as if he had been swallowed by 2 endless vortexes. His flesh, soul, consciousness, and thoughts sank into them. It's okay. Let's go to the lair of destruction. Chen Qinghuang's gentle voice echoed in the depths of Yu Yuan's heart. It had a soothing power, so Yu Yuan didn't overreact and obediently followed her instructions. Soon, Yu Yuan's head was spinning, and he didn't know where he was. Billions of kilometers away, it was no longer a starry river in the domain of annihilation. The stars in the sky were like broken diamonds. Under the bright starry river, there was a broken realm barrier and a land full of tainted energy. On the ground, there were dark red rivers, blackened mountains, and countless deep ravines. Traces of battles between terrifying experts could be seen everywhere. This world seemed to be an ancient battlefield. That was because the peak existences of the Starry River had fought a hardy battle here and died. Whoosh! Yu Yuan and Princess Qing Luan appeared in a giant bird's nest in this world. After he and Princess Qing Luan arrived at the nest, which was emitting a destructive aura, it turned back into the blue Luan. The blue Luan cried happily at him and Chen Qinghuang, then flew into the sky and returned to the boundless Starry River. It's returning to Howren. On its way back, I can teleport here at any time. She slightly shook off Yu Yuan's hand and took off the phoenix coronet on her head. Her waterfall-like hair cascaded down her beautiful back, revealing her flawless and perfect face that could captivate all living things. Her beauty was hard to describe with words. It was too ethereal and unreal. Yu Yuan, you can try it here. She pointed at a relatively flat part of the cracked earth. It's said that many years ago, Nie Qingtian was here. He wielded his towering sword and annihilated the allied army of outsiders that was stationed here. This world was destroyed because of it. The realm barrier was cut by the sword light, and so was the earth. Yu Yuan was shocked. Then, he looked closer and found that the ravines that were tens of thousands of meters long were actually created by sword light. At this moment, a familiar, gorgeous peacock appeared in the starry river after the blue Luan left. Amidst the resplendent starlight, the huge multicolored peacock looked so beautiful yet so cautious. The Peacock King. Yu Yuan turned pale with fright. He took a few steps back to keep a distance from Chen Qinghuang. Didn't the Peacock King's appearance mean that the powerful demons were also out there? Why did Chen Qinghuang bring him here? Chapter 1081. The moment the Peacock King appeared, Yu Yuan's heart sank to the bottom of the valley, and her entire body turned cold. The first thing he thought of was that from the beginning until the end, Chen Qinghuang had never separated herself from the five supreme powers. Instead, he accepted the invitation of the Tongtian Trading Company and the Shunhun sect with the tacit consent of the five supreme forces. However, in reality, Chen Qinghuang was still loyal to the five supreme forces. Coming to the Annihilation Star Zone and entering the Thousand-Bird Realm was her and the five supreme forces' plan. If the Annihilation Lair really came to the Howren Great World, it wouldn't be received by the Desolate God, but by the cooperation of the Goblin Temple, the Devil's Palace, or the nascent souls of the three high sections. Then Yu Yuan seemed to see the five supreme forces leading the way, and then the various lower sects, the Red Devil School, the Heavenly Evil Sect, and the Voodoo working together, and countless overlords pouring in from the Thousand-Bird Realm's death lair. Then, wouldn't Yu Yuan become a sinner? It was he who used the life altar in his body to help Princess Qing Luan repair the damaged death lair. Yu Yuan opened his mouth and wanted to say that he was disappointed. He didn't expect that his rescue back then would be in exchange for betrayal. But when he saw Princess Qing Luan's mirror-like eyes full of disappointment, he couldn't help but be stunned. You? What are you disappointed about? The words that were about to come out of his mouth changed because of this, and his feelings were complicated. I'm disappointed that you don't believe me. You thought so much about the scene of me murdering you, betraying you, and dealing with the Thousand-Bird Realm. Princess Qing Luan curled her lips and said in a mocking tone, "You have a lot of ideas in your head." Whoosh! The graceful Peacock King, who was wearing colorful wings, transformed into a seductive human the moment she spread her wings and landed. She was wearing bright clothes, and her eyes were filled with murderous intent as she shouted, "Hong Chi!" She was even more shocked than Yu Yuan when she suddenly ran into an acquaintance who had disappeared into the realm passage. Her actions made Yu Yuan feel a little relieved. He felt that the truth might not be what he thought. You called me here. Why is Haunch here? The Peacock King wasn't too happy. She had a personal grudge with Yu Yuan, so she was filled with vigilance. I came here bearing a huge risk. Was he trustworthy? Also, you should know that I didn't get along with him in the past. I can trust you, Chen Qinghuang said. What's going on with you two? Yu Yuan was surprised. We've known each other for a long time. We've fought side by side in outer space several times, Princess Qing Luan explained with a smile. She saved me more than once. As for me, after returning to the carefree realm, comprehending the power of regeneration and destruction, and refining the death nest of the thousand-bird world, I understood one thing. I used this matter as an excuse to convince her to stand with me. Oh right, she's only with me. She's not with the Chamber of Commerce, and definitely not with the Shenhun sect. Chen Qinghuang said seriously. Can I know what it is? Yu Yuan said. Chen Qinghuang glanced at the Peacock King. The seductive peacock showed a troubled expression as if she was afraid of something. She said, Don't mention her name. Otherwise she might sense it. Yu Yuan's mind shook. Just mentioning her name could cause her to sense it. He knew what level she was at. Amen. Chen Qinghuang nodded slightly. Then, she crouched down and drew a crude phoenix on the dry dark red ground. She then painted it purple with fuel. Yu Yuan looked down and was shocked. He immediately knew that she was drawing the demonic phoenix of the Goblin Temple. The strongest of the Goblin Temple, the oldest demon god of Howren. She was many years older than the White Tiger and the ancient god of Golden Elephant. The demonic phoenix had once ruled the demon race with the peak experts of the human race and drove the dragon race off the altar. The Goblin Temple was also created by her. Beside the purple phoenix, Chen Qinghuang wrote 3 more words. It, she, he. It's a hermaphrodite. Sometimes it's her, and sometimes it's him. After Yu Yuan imprinted the scene on the ground in his heart, Princess Qing Luan erased the pictures and the 3 words. It's very special, so special that it's beyond our imagination. In Howren, it's the longest living demon. She's the ancestor of all demons in Howren. After a pause, Chen Qinghuang continued, As long as it's still in Howren and is still a demon god, none of the demons in the Spirit Bird clan can stand shoulder to shoulder with her. There's no hope of becoming a level 10 demon god. Then, she looked at the gloomy Peacock King. Yu Yuan thought for a while and slowly understood the meaning of her words. He knew what was going on. The demonic phoenix of the Goblin Temple was the ancestor of the Howren spirit birds. As long as she didn't die and was still a level 10 demon god, like the Peacock King, the Blue Luan or the golden-winged Great Pung, even if there was an empty seat, they couldn't reach the end of the great path of demons. The reason for that was because she had firmly grasped the position of the most powerful bird in the group of birds. The Peacock King was a level 9 great demon. Her next step was naturally to become a level 10 demon god. However, the demonic phoenix seemed to never die of natural causes. She would always sit in that seat. Because of her existence, the Peacock King's path forward had been blocked. Why did you ask me to take the blood prison and help me refine it? Yu Yuan changed the topic. He pointed at the Gendo behind the counter and asked again. Gendo, the blood prison. The Peacock King's expression changed abruptly. After you refine this Gendo, there's hope that it can work with the life altar in your body to devour the primal chaos Kuan's heart. Princess Qing Luan's eyes released an intimidating light. I'm not afraid to tell you that I don't want the primal chaos Kuan to live. I want him to die. It doesn't matter to me who kills him, but if it's you, I'll be happier. Why do you want the primal chaos Kuan to die? I'll tell you later. But you should know that he doesn't have good intentions towards you. As long as he's alive, He'll be an invisible threat to you. Isn't that right? Yes. Peacock King, help me suppress the filthy power of the stars in this world. Yu Yuan, you can try to break the restriction in the counter and refine the blood prison now. Okay. Yu Yuan and the Peacock King said in unison. In a hall with many strange crystals on display in Thousand Bird Realm, Lin Zhuyun, who had withdrawn her cold aura, wandered alone in the spacious hall with a cold expression. She walked past one outsider after another without attracting much attention. In front of a cabinet, there were dozens of white crystals that shone with cold light. She stopped here and stared at those crystals in a daze. A moment later, she suddenly turned around and frowned. And Ziqing quietly emerged from behind a group of female demons. When she turned around, a bright smile blossomed on her face. She lightly nodded at her and moved her lips, gathering her soul remembrance. Miss Lin, you're still alive? You're at the Soul Wander realm. Even if you're refining a cold heavenly devil, you should pay attention to your own safety. A fierce look appeared in Lin Zhuyun's eyes, and Ziqing smiled even more happily. Be careful. There are too many people in Thousand Bird Realm. I can't do anything. If we leave this world and meet somewhere else in the Annihilation star system, I might kill you if I'm in a bad mood. She might be afraid of someone like Chao Yi, who was proficient in the Blood God and Xuantianzong's secret magics. As for Lin Zhuyun, within Ziqing's cultivation base and the treasures in her hands, she was confident that she could kill her even if she was injured. Also, the flesh aura in Lin Zhuyun's body was sweet and delicious, giving her the desire to kill. Lin Zhuyun wanted to fight back, but her body suddenly trembled, as if she had sensed something. She didn't even say anything and hurried away. Outer Realm, on a sparse and ordinary meteorite. The Chaos Koan, who had taken human form, stood with its hands behind its back, looking at Thousand Bird Realm and the starships. How prosperous! The Shunhun sect and the Chamber of Commerce are indeed generous. The large meteor that he and the Een Corpse King were on earlier was somewhere else, not here. Heisun, who had guarded the Star Sea region for the Devil's Palace, stood next to him and said with a smile, President Li said that as long as you can control yourself and don't kill, you can also go to Thousand Bird Realm. The Chaos Koan laughed. Aren't you afraid that I won't be able to control myself and eat Yu Yuan? You know, it's not time yet, Heisun said with a smile. You're not afraid, but I am. The Chaos Koan took a deep breath and looked at Thousand Bird Realm. Although I don't know what the Chamber of Commerce and you want to do, since you dare to let me go to Thousand Bird Realm, you must have a plan. Sorry, I've suffered too much and don't dare to step into Thousand Bird Realm. You're not afraid that I'll eat Yu Yuan, but I'm afraid that you'll eat me. Senior, you're joking. Heisun was speechless. The Chaos Koan snorted. I'm not joking with you. Back then, the demonic phoenix made all kinds of arrangements to lure me into the Howran Great World. Didn't she want to eat me? Fortunately, I'm tough and have a backup plan. Otherwise, she would have succeeded. After a pause, he said to himself, the current Thousand Bird Realm doesn't feel right. Even I feel instinctively uneasy. Tell me, what do you and the Chamber of Commerce want to do in Thousand Bird Realm? It's just a grand event. Senior, you're thinking too much, Heisun said with a serious face. The Chaos Koan laughed, not believing a word. Chapter 1082. Thousand Bird Realm, in a hidden cave specially opened by the Chamber of Commerce. President Li frowned and stared at the two prismatic crystal pillars in front of him. The pillars reflected the golden sea of light, the standing land, the gray withered trees, and the many mutated fiends. He looked at the mutated fiends of the giant spirit race that had entered the golden sea of light and were entangled with endless lightning. This is a bit tricky. After a long while, President Li turned to Zhou Yu and said, Inform the Shunhun sect early and tell them to make other preparations after that defensive sea of light. Zhou Yu nodded. Where's the Chaos Corn? President Li asked curiously. With his strength, he should have been able to step into Thousand Bird Realm long ago. Why didn't I feel his presence? The first guest of the Chamber of Commerce, Jun Chen, opened his mouth and said, "He doesn't want to enter Thousand Bird Realm." President Li was stunned. What is he guarding against? That girl called Lin Zhuyun is in Thousand Bird Realm, and Yu Yuan. Isn't that enough to let him in? Yu Yuan isn't here right now, Zhou Yu said. President Li motioned for him to continue. After he bought the blood prison of Zhendo, Princess Qing Luan took him out of his building, Zhou Yu explained. I sensed the spatial fluctuations. I don't know where Princess Qing Luan took him to refine the blood prison. However, they should be in a small world on the way to Hauran from the lair of destruction. Jun Chen interrupted. Princess Qing Luan's actions are a bit strange. President, have you ever thought that maybe she's pretending to ally with us, but secretly is still with the Five Supremes? No, you're thinking too much. President Li wasn't worried at all. He smiled and said, Jun Chen, let me tell you something. Ever since she comprehended the immortal bird's power of regeneration and used it to enter the Freedom Realm, she has been viewed as a thorn in the side of the demonic phoenix of the Goblin Temple. Jun Chen was shocked. Are immortal birds and demonic phoenixes natural enemies? Smart. President Li nodded slightly. The immortal birds born in the chaos and the demonic phoenixes of Hauran will be eternal enemies. As for why, take your time to think about it, and you'll eventually understand. It was because of this that the Shunhun sect and I dared to invite her. It was because she knew that she would never be accepted by the Goblin Temple. As for the Goblin Temple, we all know of its strength and resources in Hauran. Hearing his words, Jun Chen and Zhou Yu gradually understood and no longer doubted him. However, I don't know what she's planning in secret. President Li pondered for a moment and said, Keep an eye on Yu Yuan, and tell He Sun to try his best to persuade the Primal Chaos Kun to come to Thousand Birds Realm. Got it. In the VIP area. Fernand of the Azura race sat quietly in his room after wandering around for a while, his mind full of thoughts. Suddenly, a bright blood vein in his heart seemed to be awakened by a distant power and gradually expanded from the thickness of a hair. Fernand shuddered, and immediately held his breath and focused all of his attention. Within the bright blood vein, there was an extremely weak message that he had to focus all of his attention to vaguely sense. Fernand. An incomparably deep and majestic voice seemed to come from the most mysterious dark realm in the universe. My king. Fernand's tall body trembled violently in the quiet cultivation room. He knew that the voice came from the current patriarch of the Azura race, the Shura of Gojoseon, who made countless experts tremble in fear. As an Azura and a great warrior, even though he had become a bandit, he still worshipped the king of the Azura race. Even though he had been severely punished by the other party, he had become a bandit because of the other party. Go find a human girl named Lin Zhuyun. Follow my instructions and stay by her side. Act according to the situation. After this is done, you, Fernand, can return to the race. I will erase all of your past mistakes. Your beloved daughter will also be qualified to enter the Dark Realm to train. Elena has the potential to surpass you. She can prosper your family and become a dazzling star of our race. The Shura of Gojoseon conveyed his instructions. Fernand listened quietly, not daring to miss a word. When the Shura of Gojoseon's deep and majestic voice finally stopped, Fernand did not hesitate. With excitement, he replied through the bright bloodline, As you wish. In an unknown land, on the ground covered in deep ravines, Yu Yuan grinned and punched the counter. Bang! The glass counter shattered into pieces, and a lot of spiritual light and crystal brilliance splashed out. The strange array of patterns inside was also destroyed in the blink of an eye. The long saber fell to the ground because of this. An incomparably strange suction force was released from the long saber. Yu Yuan's Xianmen acupoints in his chest were stinging and burning as if they were affected by the long saber. A multicolored screen of demonic energy covered the place where Yu Yuan was. Peacock King floated above the screen of light, helping to suppress this small world. Inside the screen of demonic energy, the beautiful Chen Qinghuang's expression gradually became serious. "Let me give it a try first." Yu Yuan half squatted and reached out to grab the handle of the jendo. His palm seemed to have been pierced by hundreds of needles. As strands of his blood were sucked away, his organs, bones, and tendons seemed to be affected by the jendo. They wanted to directly squeeze into the jendo and become a part of it. With a deep shout, he circulated the fiend body refining art to control his flesh and blood. Then, he used the extreme wisdom soul tempering art to maintain his consciousness and not be controlled by evil thoughts. Then, he sensed the strands of qi and blood that had entered the demonic blade. Within the jendo, there were 7 blood souls the size of fists. Like dark red eyes, they seemed to be staring at his blood and began to gather and fight for it. The 7 blood souls were still fighting with each other, filled with a fanatical and bloodthirsty aura. Other than that, there were also countless blood dots the size of rice grains. Inside them, there was also a brutal, insane, and bloodthirsty aura. When he wanted to carefully sense it, he discovered that the blood that had entered the jendo had already disappeared without a trace. He was already unable to detect any movement within the demonic blade, and his internal organs had inexplicably shifted positions in a short period of time, causing blood to flow out of his mouth, yet he was completely unaware of it. It seemed that he had lost his sense of pain because of it. "For now, don't touch the handle of the saber with your hand." Chen Qinghuang's voice faintly rang out. "I have a suggestion. Immerse your Yin spirit or heavenly soul in the life altar. Directly release the life altar from the blood energy microworld, shrink it, and enter the jendo." Because of her words, Yu Yuan let go of his hand. After thinking for a moment, he pointed at his chest. The crimson life altar immediately floated out of his blood energy microworld slowly. Outside the screen of demonic energy, the Peacock King's eyes suddenly burned. She looked at the legendary life altar, as if she was looking at the most precious treasure in the world. "If Her Majesty wasn't here, I would have tried to take this altar," she snorted. "Yu Yuan, I think it's better for you to move your heavenly soul into the life altar. When others are in the soul wander realm, their heavenly soul cannot leave their mind. You are different. You cultivate the Shunhun sect's extreme wisdom soul tempering art. You have been refining your heavenly soul for a long time. You can do it." Chen Qinghuang continued. "Also, don't think of other methods for your yang spirit body. Use this life altar as the prototype. Once your heavenly soul enters it, you can use your spirit energy and soul thought to slowly refine it." When these words came out, Yu Yuan's heart shook. He thought to himself, "It can be done like this?" Author's note. Sorry, today's chapter. I caught a cold. My nose ran all day and my head felt dizzy. Chapter 1083. How to refine and forge a yang spirit body had always been one of Yu Yuan's biggest problems. Before this, Yu Yuan had been completely clueless about what to do and where to go. Until now, using the life altar as the foundation and core, depositing the heavenly soul into it, and then using spiritual energy and soul remembrance to temper it day and night, he could create a novel and mysterious sun god. The altar, which was as red as blood crystals, contained a power as vast as the sea. However, that power was related to flesh and blood. The yang spirit refined from this should be the crystallization of flesh and blood and soul. Wouldn't that be the same as Princess Qing Luan's yang spirit, which was close to the level of a great demon? Yu Yuan's imagination ran wild. However, he still decided to follow Chen Qinghuang's suggestion and give it a try. His mind moved slightly. Whoosh! The heavenly soul, which had been guarding the small world in his mind for many years and had never left, turned into a dark red shadow and suddenly flew out from between his eyebrows. Without any hindrance, it instantly entered the life altar that was parked in his chest. When the heavenly soul entered it, he felt as if he had stepped onto a magnificent and colorful red crystal millstone. Once this millstone rotated, it would crush all flesh, blood, and bones that were thrown in, refining pure flesh and blood energy and soul power. Then, part of the flesh and blood energy and soul power would be used to strengthen the altar itself, allowing this mysterious altar to continue to evolve. The remaining flesh and blood energy would be injected into Yu Yuan's small world of flesh and blood. When the small world of flesh and blood was full, it would fly into his limbs, bones, meridians, helping him repeatedly temper his body. Then, the extra flesh and blood would enter his hidden acupoints, helping him open more acupoints. The pure soul power produced would rush into his small world of consciousness, helping his Yin spirit to strengthen, his heavenly soul to cleanse, and his main soul to grow. A life altar could strengthen his body and soul in all aspects. It was truly wondrous. At this moment, his heavenly soul was flying in the ruby-like life altar, as if it was wandering in another dimension. He could see everything, but he could not transform the life altar into what he imagined it to look like. He realized that if he could do as Chen Qinghuang said and refine this life altar into his yang spirit, then, with a thought from his heavenly soul, the life altar could transform into his body and become another him. He could use it to fight. He could have arms, legs, and a complete combat form. He could not only fly through it and visit it like a guest. "Enter Zhendo," Princess Qing Luan urged softly. Yu Yuan nodded and stopped, letting his imagination run wild. When the eyes of his true body narrowed slightly, the life altar wrapped around his Selim soul and sank directly into the blade of the blood prison. Swoosh! A moment later, Yu Yuan's Yin spirit, heavenly soul, and main soul all had a strange feeling. Because the three souls were connected, he immediately realized that he and the life altar had appeared in a strange world. 7 huge blood souls were like bloated planet. He could see flesh and blood churning inside, and there were fierce souls roaring. Apart from that, there were countless blood-red spots scattered in various areas like stars. There were probably tens of millions of them. When he and the life altar arrived, whether it was the 7 huge blood souls or the tens of thousands of blood-red spots, they were all afraid and trembling uneasily. They were all hiding from something. This feeling was completely different from when he held the hilt of the saber with his hand and sent strands of qi and blood into it. Just now, when the qi and blood essence that originated from him flowed into it, the 7 huge blood souls and the tens of thousands of blood-red spots crazily snatched, absorbed, and digested it in an extremely short period of time. As a result, he did not have time to comprehend or think before his connection with the life altar was cut off. But now, when the heavenly soul entered with the life altar, he felt a sense of superiority, as if he had brought a star behemoth that could devour the world into a galaxy that was about to hunt and devour the stars in the sky. When he thought about it, he realized that the 7 huge blood souls should be the 7 previous masters of the Zhendo that had been devoured by it. The bodies and souls of the 7 masters had been devoured by the Zhendo and turned into these 7 blood souls. The tens of thousands of blood-red spots were Zhendo's 7 masters. They had used this Zhendo to kill many creatures. After their deaths, Zhendo had pulled their bodies and souls into the life altar and turned them into these tens of thousands of spots of light. However, whether it was the blood souls or the tens of thousands of blood-red spots of light, they were all afraid of the life altar. Yu Yuan, whose real body was outside, twitched the corner of his mouth and showed a cold smile. He murmured, "Star behemoths are indeed at the top of the food chain." "That's right." Chen Qinghuang pursed his lips and smiled. His eyes, which were brighter than the sun, the moon, and the stars, were fixed on Gendo's blade. He said, "From now on, you can hold Gendo again and refine it with your flesh aura essence. I believe that you'll feel completely different." Yu Yuan did as he was told. After the life altar carried the cauldron and entered the blade, he reached out again and gripped the hilt of blood prison. Wisps of his blood essence once more entered the blade. It was indeed different from before. This time, after his flesh aura entered the blade, the 7 greediest blood souls and the tens of thousands of blood-red spots of light seemed to be unusually quiet. They were clearly still full of desire. They clearly had the power and ability to devour his flesh aura, but because the life altar was in their world, they didn't dare to do anything. This was because they sensed the same aura, and knew that the flesh aura that had just entered the blade was of the same origin as the life altar. This life altar could destroy everything in the small world inside Gendo. It didn't matter if it was the blood souls or the tens of thousands of blood-red spots of light, as long as the life altar didn't like it, it would be refined and destroyed. That was why they were so quiet. Yu Yuan watched in amazement as the flesh aura essence flowed into the blade of Gendo. Interweaving, dark red patterns gradually appeared on the blade. The blade light near the hilt was formed by interweaving dark red patterns, which looked like a cage. The name Blood Prison comes from the fact that the demonic saber can imprison the flesh, blood, and souls of the living beings that have been killed by it. The flesh and souls of those beings won't perish in Gendo. They will exist forever. When Gendo fights, they will become part of Gendo itself, assimilate and devour more dead. Chen Qinghuang seemed to be very familiar with this Gendo. Seeing the dark red patterns appear, he immediately explained. Only 15 minutes later. Only a small area of the blood patterns around the hilt had appeared, but Yu Yuan was already exhausted. He was forced to let go of the hilt and yelled, "The amount of flesh aura needed to refine this Gendo isn't something I can handle in one go." Of course. Outside the multicolored screen of demonic energy, the Peacock King snorted. Think about it. Gendo's previous masters were all Freedom Realm cultivators or rank 9 great demons who specialized in body tempering. They didn't have the life altar to suppress the blood souls in the saber. They could only cover the blade with their flesh aura and light up all the blood patterns while suppressing them. No matter how powerful you are, you're still far from their level. Clang! The Gendo landed on the ground. Seeing that only 1/8 of the blood patterns had been lit up, Yu Yuan silently took out a great blood origin pill and swallowed it. Then, he took out 2 bottles of outsider blood that Canli of the Radiant Light Race had sent to him from his ring of cosmos. Whoosh! As the life altar flew out of Gendo, Nye Tian stared at it closely and discovered that the blood patterns that covered the blade hadn't been erased. The flesh aura essence that had fused into the blade seemed to have become a fundamental part of Gendo, and was no longer being fought over by the blood souls. He poured the 2 bottles of outsider blood into the life altar. His heavenly soul had temporarily returned to his body, waiting for the life altar to refine it and replenish his energy. "I'll need to refine this Gendo a few times," Yu Yuan said. "You have to hurry. You still have 5 days. I believe that great changes will happen in Thousand Bird Realm in 5 days," Princess Qing Luan said softly. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.